money worm. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the last ride, Sir Waltham Ocean, ready to bring you some excitement as we head into the last tournament of Overwatch. Classic Overwatch 1, however you like to say it. Ocean, Susanu versus NA Voided Retirement. How are we feeling today?
Susan, no, thank you. Just before we go any further, there's 24 teams in this event participating in a double elimination bracket. This first game will be a first to two between Susanoo and an avoided retirement home. I'm just excited to see the name Susanoo back in Overwatch.
Oh, I'm sure I'll be excited to have you correct me on the pronunciation many, many times. It's not going to get any easier for you here, my friend. But either way, yes, very excited. And it is going to be a first to two style. So, not going to be having extremely long games, but I'm still expecting some high intensity games.
Oh yeah, and speaking of keeping the intensity high in this tournament, this is a tournament based on the player experience, so there is no assault maps.
Oh, that is a nice feeling. That means no Anubis, no Volskaya. Of course, you
Hang
wouldn't
on, hang
expect.
on, hang on. Yeah, a little bit of Volskaya.
Oh well, okay. The Ocean put in a special request saying any ties that happen going to be broken by Volskaya. Okay, fine.
It didn't happen. It didn't get proved. Um, and it was going to be crazy as well because if you drew on Volskaya, you just got to keep going on Volskaya. It was just going to be a Volskaya only tournament, pretty much. And I think that's ideal Overwatch, to be honest.
I mean, I think you and I will have to have differing opinions there. I mean, it's okay. I think it's very brave of you to acknowledge that you have the wrong opinion, and we need more bravery like that out in the world here, Ocean. But no bravery going into this next map for Susanoo versus a avoided. Overall, very much excited for.
And you're bashed, man. But I do want to highlight some players in this matchup just for the casual eye to keep a watch on. I want to talk about Landon, who might be playing main support today. Of course, been playing flex support for a while now. But back in the day, Landon used to be a main support player for Susanoo,
Oh.
funnily enough. So we might see Landon on the old Brigitte today, which would be exciting. I would enjoy that. And then I avoid a retirement home. I would like to talk about Otters, who's a flexible player,
Mhm.
who's like a player that I just see like frying out every time he plays. Doesn't necessarily get good results or play on your highest caliber teams, but Otters just always seems to pop off on the flex support.
And that could go either way towards them just being a fantastic player or them really having the synergy, the team cohesion to allow their team to enable that kind of performance coming through. I'm a fan of anybody whose name is Otters. I'm a huge fan of the animal. I'm sure I'm going to be a huge fan of the player. But you mentioned it, a couple of significant names, at least if you've been keeping, in the circle of Overwatch's kind of tier two, tier three lifespan there. Aquamarine as well, Bastion main. When you talk about NA Avoided, you talk about some very specialized players when it comes to those DPS roles, particularly.
Yeah, there are five DPS players on the roster. Just your typical and avoided roster. It's going to be interesting. I mean, at least it's going to be easy for us to say, okay, Aquamarine's in the lineup. We're going to see Junkrat.
Mhm.
Bastionman's in the lineup. We're going to see Tracer, right? No. We're going to see Bastion.
Yeah, no big surprise there. I mean, it will no big surprise in what we're expecting, but obviously something else could come out that does give us a little bit of a shock. But Ocean, I don't think they're going to necessarily want to do that because there is a prize pool attached to the last ride.
Yeah, $2,500 prize pool, 70% going to our first placed team. Yeah, no, there's a little bit up for grabs here in the last ride invitational.
And how nice would it be to be one of those teams, one of those players who says, I was the last player to ever cash in on Overwatch 1, classic Overwatch, a vintage Overwatch before Overwatch 2 hits. A lot of changes going to be going through, and it'd be nice to kind of put your names in that history book as well.
Yeah, no, it would be absolutely nice. So I think it's also nice just for these players to have one final, kind of go at it. There's been a couple of tournaments recently that have been a little bit more I guess, disappointing. And these guys have now got opportunities to prove themselves on this game that will be very shortly disappearing, as the Overwatch 2 beta is only 2 days away.
Yeah, it is. It is very close to being here. I think it's the 26th, so that would make it 3 days.
Sorry, I can't count to 3.
That's fine. I'm struggling this morning as well. Still kind of ready to get excited from all this action, but yeah, overall, I'm definitely expecting some changes. This is going to be the last time I believe we're going to be seeing the two tank lineups. So definitely something I'm going to be savoring while we have it.
Yeah, I just something that occurred to me so often. Is the reason you don't like Volskaya because you can't play Winston?
Yes, I'll be sincere. Winston, kind of the preference there for me when it comes to the main tank slot, but
ready for battle.
No surprises. Cohesion in a long time in this community. Let's hope that Cohesion uses this opportunity to I guess prove themselves in what they've been working on over the past year or so.
You can already see those specialized picks coming out from Susan, though, immediately the Orb Cohesion on that Tracer trying to come in. A lot of that backstab damage. Nano is going to be trying some sightlines with that Ash as well. Put a lot of pressure down with the Dynamite. Yeah, welcome to this close the gap immediately to know going to be trying to come in close as it's part of being fairly successful at it. I think with early kills, Mercy Ash both taken out and able to not going to have the firepower.
Yeah, Susanoo just kind of got their presence on the point immediately. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. They wanted to get on the back line and avoid it, and it was pretty simple from there. Akash right in the back line again, and Google goes on.
That's going to be a very late kill onto the Honor, but what is going to be people to come up with a couple kills of their own. Perhaps a bit overcommitted, perhaps be regretting that. Maybe they would have liked to put the time a little bit more. They do still have that on that Winston to able to recontest hold out for as long as possible, especially with this Nano boost. As we go and hit it, they goes out in a nice Nano. Looks like they still might turn around to Susan though. See that rival, but Nano and Winston trying to get that massive cleave damage. Can't quite find too much, but it does cause enough of a disruption. Bob eventually has to barrel out onto the field, and that's a late step for NA Voted. They have to try to make this switch up here side on this full zone, really trying to pry a lot of damage and with that overload, and eventually with the triangle, no, off the cliff goes Tiana. That's going to soon follow getting crushed by this triangle.
I miss seeing Akash, right? This main hook, which is always hyper aggressive, always seeming like kind of around the contenders trials level. A really enjoyable player to watch. They're playing on Goofy Tube, as they like to say. I'm not sure what the boss is with that. It's interesting. And yeah, going into this, maybe even last team fight for NA Voided, right? Their setups have taken a while, so they're probably gonna have to look at this Nano Blade, right? As a kind of a saving grace for them.
It'll be hard when they get zoned out a little bit by that Diva Bomb. Does enable Divination to try to get back by Angelic. It's going to be the Nano going into Angelic. Blade as well, looking to cut a swath. Does go successfully 2 kills. That's going to be enough to, they gotta imagine, open it up for NA Voided. We're going to continue to kill, build up more of that ult charge, more of that damage, add the numbers a little bit if we will. Hunter landing a nice hook that's going to follow up on Divination.
Yep, going into this next team fight. And they kind of got a little bit of space to protect now, right? They don't have to go and set up for these team fights. They've kind of already got the space they need. So now Susanoo, they're the team that has to walk on and avoid it. They're going to have to walk onto a bomb and a minefield as well. Should be easy for the approach of the photon barrier. I'm kind of looking at Goofy Tube with the Nano booster. Once they wake up to try and get Susanoo into the team fight.
See a lot of damage being built up here. That sound barrier going to allow Susanoo to be in this fight a little bit longer, and that's going to work well for their composition, the turret. The Sim going to allow themselves to ramp up as this fight goes longer. Eventually, it's going to be that Ash taken down. Bitters, however, does have the res available. It's going to be the ball trying to spin the win. Both tanks playing off point for NA Voided right now, but eventually cleaned up. There's not a lot of staying power available. Still hasn't flipped the point. Eventually will get it, and NA Voided has to get somebody on point. It's going to be Ash once again, who does take down Sai. Mercy doesn't look like she's going to be in there for Res. Certainly not without being cleaned up by that. Excuse me, gosh, it's going to be looking for a little bit more damage, trying to get it, and it looks like it's going to be pretty successful once these tanks once again get clean.
Yeah, it should be done and dusted for Susanoo. It would take a dramatic play or dramatic change in momentum for NA Voided to be able to do this, and that means that we will see Shrine go over to Susanoo.
So far, a great start, and it kind of, to me, comes down to one of those questions of when you see really specialized players playing on a map that perhaps doesn't favor them, too intensely. How does that work against, somebody who's playing a little bit more standard, a little bit more basic, I want to say?
I mean, I wouldn't say that Susanoo are playing basic or standard, really, because playing so aggressive. But what I would say is it's like a standard composition, right? Compositionally, it is quite standard, but that would NA Voided against like a good standard team like Susanoo. Usually they would want to go after the backline, but unfortunately the way Susanoo are playing is actually quite smart. They are on the NA Voided backline before NA Voided can even set up any of their engagement. It's really good so far from Akash or Goofy Tube in the long run.
Hunter taking a lot of damage and immediately has to back out, and Susanoo immediately winning that positioning kind of fight gamble there. MMA, however, going to be trying to dive deep into the backlines. Perhaps gets a little bit routed on their maneuvering there and not quite able to make it happen. We see now Susanoo trying to get set up on the point where that Sin wants to be, but she doesn't want to be down the sights of an Ash, which is where she unfortunately does find herself. And then avoiding retirement, despite getting some early losses, not quite taken out of this fight as aggressively as you might expect, especially from the Susanoo line we saw earlier on. Nice cleanup, Hunter just missing the clean up, but Angelica's there to help.
Yeah, Susanoo struggling to actually get into the backline this team fight. They got hooked immediately on the high ground, and the fight just kind of randomly switched over to the point as both teams looked to get that first capture. And one change I kind of want to point out that's just struggling to get value right now is Gummy on the Roadhog. Let's compare that to Hunter, who's already got the Roadhog ultimate, more of a Roadhog specialist, but Gummy's really struggling to get value on this hero.
Susanoo immediately going to be engaging with that nanoed Winston, trying to get a lot of damage, but Goofy using a caution. Getting hit by the anti means they can't get healed. They do have that damage reduction still, but it's going to be met with a whole Hog Hunter in this small room, going to be looking very strong, and there's to take it down by Cohesion and one of the mini turrets from Sim Bedtime Store, getting flanked from all angles, but it's going to be the Genji to try to clean up some sort of pressure here, has to force the sound barrier, can't quite get the Mega, and because of that, Susanoo now have an opportunity to push back in.
Yeah, the Divination popped off, getting that sound barrier online and ready to go. If that sound barrier doesn't happen, Divination probably goes down, and Gummy, who is also in that small room, is also in a little bit of trouble with the Dragon Blade, but luckily for Susanoo, Divination's able to clutch up there and nullify that Dragon Blade completely. Now moving into this next fight, I'm looking at Cohesion with that pulse bomb. There you go, that's why.
Yeah, you can look at it, but I think Ham and Dwayne will be getting a better view of it. Goofy Scott's going to be looking to find something, but goes a little bit too deep, has the Primal to get themselves out, trying to juggle that Hog off the map, but Hog able to kite himself in just the right direction. Scott's not able to get too much with this instant Primal, but again, it's all about that disruption, it's all about the time you can buy in some instant Divination. Now trying to pressure down the Ash, done so successfully. He likes seeing that wall ride, Ocean.
Yeah, that was kind of sick. I mean, let's go into the second team fight. Look for NA Voided retirement. They have both support ultimates, but both are popped at once.
Gonna be that layering of support abilities with a nice anti-nade coming in from Susanoo, switch enabling their team, but it's gonna be Goofy too, once again diving in a little bit too deep. Cohesion having to play very delicately around these mines, but eventually able to close the gap on Genji, on Roadhog, and clean them both up.
Cohesion had a really good map so far on their Tracer, been really clean, timing's been pretty good, hasn't lost anything from the break, I guess, or a suspension is a better way to put it. We'll not put it bluntly. Nice little pulse, but look, there's the proof. Okay, good, consistent game of Overwatch, and avoid a retirement home. They're going to struggle here. We're heading towards last fight territory. They knowing are kind of staggered. I mean, yes, they got to kill the Divination, but Divination will be back soon. It's really on Bedtime Story and maybe I guess Goob to kind of fly going. Goob's gonna have to be really, really setting the pace in this next team point.
And we'll see if that can happen. Hammond's going to be taking down a caution. Angelic has the blade, so keep eyes out for what they might try to land with it. If they don't, they're able to hold on to those ultimates for next fight. That's exactly what they're going to want to do. Throwing in this down barrier, just trying to keep everybody alive. They do lose points, so it's going to be all good for NA Avoided. As long as they can maintain the fight, keep it going a little bit longer, require as few fights as possible. This was a nice dash back coming in from Angelic. Barely manages to get away from that Winston.
Oh, Divination gets that kill though. Angelic getting a little bit greedy, and I think Susanoo are just going to walk right back in. They're onto the back line, they're onto the Ash, and this should be turned around for Susanoo.
Yeah, I have to agree. Too much greediness, too much aggression coming in from Angelic. It's going to cost them their lives, and maybe the lives of that Ash. If you want to look at it as well, it doesn't matter. They're going to be going Susanoo's away. Wade coming out very late from NA Voided, but not going to be quite their works.
Yeah, I think we have to kind of think about Angelica near the end. You had the Dragon Blade coming up as well. That could have been the winning condition in that final fight there for an avoided retirement home. But I guess Angelica was sent out of the retirement home by Divination and into the next world and maybe into the next map.
Well, next map going to be coming up shortly. But man, so far, I was expecting, some high intensity, some high speed games, Ocean, and I feel like I have not been disappointed in that at all. We've been seeing these teams still go at each other tooth and nail. It does not feel like it's going to be a wash one way or the other.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is either. I would like to kind of highlight one little matchup. So Divination and Goob. And I want to point this out because Divination has kind of just been the better player, the better main support player. In this matchup, and you're saying Susanoo, they're in charge of every single engagement, every single team fight. You kind of feel Susanoo in control. That's all because of the way Divination is playing. It's highly aggressive. It's setting up a more aggressive style and tempo for Susanoo in particular. Like when Susanoo are engaging, and I Avoided are still setting up, and that's kind of poor. Goob needs to get a better control of this game and try to set the tempo for, and I Avoided retirement home. Otherwise, I think Susanoo are in a pretty good spot just to kind of take the rest of this series. And I Avoided also have that kind of advantage of being able to pick the next map, which will be an escort map.
And refresh my memory if I'm incorrect here, Ocean, but one of the fights I think we saw NA Avoided kind of have a little bit more success on was the one where they took out Divination early on from Susanoo. I believe they also lost their Ash or something along those lines. But Divination, I believe, fell first in that fight, and it seemed like there was a little bit more relative cohesion from NA Avoided compared to Susanoo.
Yeah. I think the kind of key is to try to either shut down Divination in the way that they're playing to get the tempo higher for Susanoo, or Goob's just got to play better and set the tempo better. I don't know what tempo they want to play. I don't know if it's going to be slow, fast. That's how poor of a job they were kind of doing in that map. But I think it's just to highlight the way Divination was playing. I don't think Goob had a really bad map, but relative to Divination, it was pretty poor.
And we did get word, folks, just a moment ago that we would be heading into our next map. As Ocean said, it would be Escort, and it's going to be Rialto.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I wonder why. I guess it's because there's a little bit more open spaces. If you think about Point A, just kind of in that courtyard area, I think that's gonna be pretty good for heroes like Wrecking Ball, in particular. And I'm kind of curious to see what we see from an Avoided retirement home. You never really know, especially since they have such a deep roster for this event. So we'll kind of see who comes in and what spaces they're trying to take advantage of here on Rialto.
I certainly have to agree as well. Rialto, again, that map that has a lot of height to it, and I don't necessarily think we'll see it, but I do yearn for the Pharah, for the Echo on that first point, Rialto, just because there's a lot of maneuverability that can be taken, especially against teams that necessarily aren't as attentive, which I think both of these teams would be. You kind of can play those angles, those corners amongst the hotels that really allow you to cut off a lot of that line of sight. It's an interesting dynamic to this map that I really enjoy.
I mean, if we see, we saw Sai in the lineup for map 1. If we see Sai play Echo, I think Sai's a very capable Echo player. That could be something we see. I don't think we'll see Pharah, unfortunately. Yeah. I just think that, if you're playing against any Avoided retirement home, they're going to be playing Wrecking Ball. They're going to be playing something a little bit more mobile. And Pharah kind of struggles to get that spam damage. against those more mobile heroes, unless you're absolutely cracks and you just duel everyone, right? Then Pharah is going to kind of struggle. I think Susanoo will take a similar approach. It'll be heroes with high mobility or high spam. It just depends on what approach they want to take. It looks like it's going to be, I guess, the mix of the two. We're going to see 4 Shadow, the hit scan specialist, come in.
Attackers incoming in 30
All right. Of course, the attackers can change at will until they actually run out of those gates. But so far, Aquamarine, Junkrat, not too surprising of a story there.
Yeah, no, Aquamarine, I don't think Junkrat is comfortable, unfortunately. No, sarcasm, obviously. Aquamarine is in the lineup. He's going to play Junkrat. It's going to be interesting to see how Susanoo copes with that. I think they've already played kind of more long-range heroes. Like, you see Kukchu here, Akash on the Sigma, going on the Hulk. These heroes are going to be playing from afar, which means that Aquamarine's going to kind of, struggle, right, with that spam damage he's going to be taking from afar. It's going to be difficult. Unless Aquamarine is just hitting low from a far range to get that off the build up. There's nothing to really spam into. And good ball cannon, man.
A rough start for the defense. There's Ham and Main going to be pile driving themselves into the drink, and the time story has been focused a lot by the Susanoo team so far. We tuned in with them early on in this fight. Now they're still getting chased by the lion's share of the members. And right now, NA VOD is trying to regroup. Unfortunately, the cards moved quite a bit to where it might be a little bit more of a stalled out, staggered kind of retake.
I mean, Hunter's just killed both Cohesion and Divination here on the side, I believe. And yeah, so NA VOD retirement home will have a little bit of space to work with to get into this team fight, maybe get a player like Aquamarine more involved. However, you see, Aquamarine's just getting constantly zoned out, constantly not involved in the team fight whatsoever, and Hammerman makes a risky escape there at the last second.
So far, it seems like Susanoo has a very strong control of this map. Hunter, of course, being the one to change things up. Divination going down once again. We talked about how that might change up the tempo for Susanoo, and I reckon Ball going to be looking to hop on the switch, try to really put down a lot of pressure, but Foreshadow on the cast is going to be providing some relief from that pressure. Transcendence from Group has to try to come out and keeping Hunter alive, keeping the supports alive as well. We're really trying to face tank on this point. Not going to be finding too much for it, so he takes down Goob. A nice hook, however, is going to interrupt that whole hog, but it won't interrupt the cart getting the first.
Yeah, Foreshadow turning dead eye. That's it. That's it. All done. Patient's going to somehow survive there. Hammerman didn't get pushed up into the drink, and we're going to set up for this next team fight. Divination looking to challenge Aquamarine, getting a little bit aggressive in this map. Might get this kill though, as they move back bedtime story into the rest of the team and get a kill. Yeah, this is a little bit chaotic right now. As Divination, yeah, you see how aggressive Divination is playing, right? Just trying to keep the fast tempo that was there on map 1. I'm surprised they didn't invest in time barrier.
It would have been a bold investment, from my opinion here, but one that certainly is in hindsight now. Hunter going to be trying to wrap around Aquamarine, looking to drop the tire. What can they find with it? The answer's going to be 2. It's going to be enough to cause Susanoo to have to try to reconsider their options here. And Gumby actually had to move through themselves into the water, or jumped back into the water, not even the whole hog, but amusing there. And now NA are going to be able to dig their heels in, post up just a little bit.
Hunter 100% was going to, say death in chat if they got that environmental kill. So Gummy just was not having that, or straight into the drink. Susanoo, next team fight, both support ultimates, and they avoided retirement home. Both support ultimates, that's what we're highlighting right now. We talked about Divination versus Goob after map 1. Let's continue to talk about it. I guess Bitter is also on a main support hero as well, so you can look at them to set the tempo. But I'm looking at Goob right now, just because they were playing the Lucio versus Lucio in the first map. There's that first support ultimate, and it seems to be working out in favor of NA avoided retirement home.
Interestingly enough, quite have their main tank with them. We saw the majority of the time Ham and Main kind of fighting off with that Sigma, finding a whole lot, but certainly buying a lot of time for their team. That time story is sinking a nice couple of stocks, but it's all just set up for the quick engagement.
Yep, and now we're looking at Bitter. How are they going to set the tempo? First is Divination. Oh, nice little kill on the bell time story from Kukchu, but it looks like it's a good start here for Susanoo. However, that's Bitter getting a resurrection. That's going to slow things down a bit.
Bob going to be looking to be a constant force on this fight, at least for a moment. Cohesion on the Sombra. I don't believe we've seen too many hacks going off. He's going to be the sound barrier. No EMP quite yet. The air with it, but Aquamarine can roll out here. Once again, this fight looking very chaotic. Hammond maybe even getting thrown off the map. All the tanks seem to be taking drinks today.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be playing for a long day of Overwatch, a maximum of around 6 hours. You may as well have a drink in the first couple of games, right? Get prepared for the rest of the day. Here's some weird kills coming out for NA Retirement Home. Some overextensions are going to be punished here, and Aquamarine's Riptide is probably going to finish off this team fight.
Going to be dropping from the back end, taking down the Immortality Field and the Sigma, but going to be more late kills coming through here, and you're okay losing Aquamarine. You know that they're going to be able to come back fast enough on the Junkrat. You might not like the switch dropping though.
Yeah, going invested the whole hook and immediately died. This is actually looking kind of dangerous for Susan here, because Asians just went down with the EMP, and they had to cross this long bridge, right, into a lot of spam. Actually, the giant grab. Even a Roadhog has pretty good spam damage, and a Baptiste as well. They had to cross this long bridge and just kind of have to deal with this, right? They might get pile drive to make it even longer. However, that's been shut down by Foreshadow and Gummy, and now this long pathway that we were talking about, they could just easily walk into, and there's the EMP to back it up.
A nice 5-man EMP going to be going out. Nobody able to use their ultimates for a moment. Both supports going down, and Avoided have to just accept that they don't quite have the rifle themselves in this battle. Akash going to be using that kinetic grasp, getting themselves a ton of shields, but it's not going to last forever. Bob being once again that constant threat on the field, so close to being a tide turner on this fight.
Yeah, I know. We talked about how the back lines were important in this game. And then Voided now back on their double main support composition that we saw earlier in the first half of the series. Now we see Cease on double flex support. Switch away kind of taking up the mantle as more of the main support in this lineup. And this is just going to be high burst damage versus, I guess, a lot of tempo for NA Avoided. I think this is going to favour NA Avoided Retirement Home. How are Cease going to even get into this next team fight? I'm not exactly sure.
Especially with that D.Va still being in baby form, you're going to have to work to get remech. You're going to have to work for everything, and that Baptiste's dangerously low. No Immortality Field in for this next fight either. D.Va does get remech, but that's going to not be enough perhaps. It's going to be the Gravitic Flux coming in early on. Just enough trying to make something happen. The Akash, who does manage to get 2 off the back, and NA Voided manages to lose their Wrecking Ball's mobility. That time story, however, getting brought back into the fight, and Invitational right now trying to make things happen, but only 3 members getting hacked. Foreshadow has this dead. I'm probably going to be looking for a little bit more space before they drop it. However, see them slowly backing up and gets caught by the dynamite, blasted to bits. It is in overtime, so NA Voided would really like to make this not land before the end. It's exactly what's going to happen. The tire goes out from Aquamarine just to ensure that.
Yeah, I think that was a good round for NA Voided. I think they kind of got a little bit lucky with how they stopped the cart at the end of point B. It's quite difficult for Susan to kind of walk into those areas. You've got that long bridge that you have to traverse where you're going to automatically say NA Voided have the high ground, and then as soon as you get past that, right, you're going to assume that NA Voided have control of those stairs, right? And how do you even shoot anyone on those stairs from that low ground, right? Unless you go in and force them off the high ground, which Susan weren't able to do really at any point, unfortunately. You're going to have a little bit of a struggle, really. But I do want to kind of draw things back, slow things down, kind of like how and Avoided were playing on point B in particular. So we're kind of highlighting how Goob versus Divination wasn't really working out. When we kind of see Avoided, they were playing 2 main supports on map 1, where you had Goob on Lucio, Bitter on the Mercy, which is 2 main support heroes, or 2 typical main support heroes in Overwatch. This map we've seen Goob play a lot more flex support, and Bitter's kind of being the player who's kind of controlling the tempo for NA Avoided. And I think they've done a very, very good job. I really, really do. We now see Susanoo kind of being forced over to 2 flex support heroes, which is a little bit more direct. And you're going to be assuming that as soon as they engage into team fights, they want them to be over quite quickly, because they don't have anything to control or speed up when necessary. They just want to make sure they can kill things fast, and that's what the approach they're going to take. But I think it's kind of forced by the way Bitter's been slowing the game down quite well.
Much better.
Ooh. mean, just divination things, right? You know, very aggressive, like support player. I think Susanoo kind of have to play that way, right? I think they kind of want to make sure that they're playing a little bit aggressive because they're not going to have the sustainability that NA Avoided will have. Yeah, you kind of look at, okay, Baptista's a little bit more heals than Mercy, right? But you're not going to be able to fly around the map and have that mobility, for example, right? Oh, Bitter's down right now, so Susanoo are in a good spot. They're wasting a lot of time. We've already wasted about a minute 20, and this team point isn't really going to help. Nice engagement there from Cohesion. Divination took an offline goal at the same time. Really awesome to see that synergy between those two players. Oh.
Craft.
Yeah, Goob going in with the Transcendence. 2 players down to switch. Switch another player. I haven't seen it in a little while. Maybe they got a couple words or so. Bedtime Story gonna wrap up this kill with comments, man. And I think this team point should still go to NI Avoided. However, the respawns might be coming faster than they think.
Morbid Tire trying to come in as fast as it can as well. Divination once again proving the superiority of the support players. Popping the Transcendence and taking down Bedtimes. That was pretty nice. I'm trying to reinforce that there's the tank, the line who gets hooked out, pulled outside of their line of sight. Doesn't matter, the Transcendence was going to expire either way. Hunter just trying to play as hard as they can to ensure that they stay around. Don't want to get taken out just yet. Almost trying to put down some pressure onto that Wrecking Ball, but it's going to be them who ends up falling in the end.
Oh, nice little attempt at a stick on the foreshadow. Didn't quite come off, and now they're in trouble here and Avoided Retirement. And they did so well in round 1, but they're really struggling to get anything going. I think they really struggle with their fight setups in this entire game. That's going to help them get into the team fight. That's spam from Divination, and of course, knowing a 65 scenario, but they've really struggled on the first point of control. I don't think they got a single point set up, and here on Rialto, it's on kind of a similar story.
And if you're Avoided, you have to try to make some sort of push happen here. You have 30 seconds left. Not a huge time bank, but with you going down, it's looking like it might be a little bit more difficult. You have the Valkyrie throw Bitter, trying to keep everybody alive and online once again, and the cart is slowly making progress. Bedtime slowly digging in, trying to find that one weakness on the Cohesion. Can't quite make it happen, though. He's going to try to trace their steps, find them, but so far getting a little bit of the runaround from the Tracer player, and Mortality Field coming out. Hunter not quite able to land a big burst damage from the hooks, and this is going to be it for NA Avoided. They have to make it land here. Those mines certainly going to be helping things. Whole Hog as well. Going to be online in just 1 second. Goes for the hook, doesn't connect onto anything, but now has the ability to push everybody back with the press of a button. That Tracer getting caught in the corner as well. It looks like it's going to ensure that this card eventually does make it to first.
Yep, finally they kind of get a team fight where they're involved. I think after the pick on the Divination, they think it's a little easier. It made things a lot more, or less difficult, sorry, to walk into. You don't have that spam from the Zenyatta. You don't have to deal with Divination on an awkward off angle like Divination typically tends to play, a little bit more aggressive. I still apologize for some more charge, but I think man will go down. No, gets out of the team fight and back to their supports.
That was some great control coming in from Hammond's main. I was a bit pessimistic about how long they'd be living for in that engagement, but the damage just not quite fast enough. But now it's going to be Aquamarine looking to throw in quite a bit of damage of their own with this Tire trying to connect. Does connect on to 2. Just like that, NA Avoided now going to be digging in just a little bit more. They're going to be making that cart towards its final bend, and then once more towards victory. It's still a minute and a half left, and we have a couple fights left ahead of us, Ocean.
I'm looking at Foreshadow and Cohesion, the DPS are saying, they've got to pull off something here. Susanoo don't have the high ground right now, and Avoided. They should be set. This should be them taking this map. But look, Foreshadow with a kill, Cohesion with a kill. The DPS, of course, Susanoo have turned this around.
Wow, yeah, incredible. The trap, Cohesion, probably a little bit frustrated on that one, but can't be too frustrated waiting to come out of a fight like that. Things were getting towards that very last moment. Goob gonna be saved by the Wrecking Ball, smearing the Tracer across the pavement. And that means that both DPS, of course, Susanoo, not gonna be in this fight if NA Avoided are able to get there fast enough.
60 seconds
Right, so going into probably the last team fight, just based on how long it takes to set up a fight on Real. So, okay, maybe you're about to back off now if you're trying to avoid a wait for Hammond's beam. You still have time to set up. You're kind of looking at your ultimates. You've got Transcendence, you've got a Bulb, two really good ultimates, and a Minefield as well. So you still really have nothing. I mean, it's going to be a sound barrier, really, that has to reflect all of these ultimates coming in from NA Avoided. So all they got to do is get into the team fight, ignore the spam, which they haven't because they've already lost Hunter. They're going to have to take the 65 eventually if this keeps happening. Here we go. Bulb is engaged, and the rest of the team will be following shortly.
Hammond main going to be trying to navigate their way through Cohesion on this Sim. Look for once again that damage to build up pretty heavily, and it's going to be the pause. It was a disconnect from one of the DP, or from I believe it was Divination from Susanoo.
Oh no! You know what's so critical? Divination was 98% on sound barrier. So critical. Divination 98% on sound barrier. What does Susanoo have to respond to the ultimates that are still incoming from NA Avoided?
There
Nothing.
is. It's so unfortunate, right? That is the moment you don't want to lose somebody. You don't want to lose a player. You don't want to have them walk back from spawn, and you don't want to have them walk back from spawn with an empty pocket when they had that resource available to you. Oh man, I can only imagine the frustration that's going to be coming through from this team should the fight not go their way, although it was looking like it could have gone in either direction so far.
I mean, all I'm gonna say is probably last fight territory here, right? You know, and Avoided need one more team fight to win, and the ultimate that was gonna win them that team fight for Susanoo is gone.
10 seconds.
Oh my word, a sound barrier would have been helpful there.
Yeah, it certainly would have, dealing with those mines just a little bit, but nobody from Susanoo going to be able to contest.
Victory.
And just like that, NA Voided going to be ensuring that things are taken to a third map.
Well, that's not the way you want to win, but a nice little 3-piece from Amaman at the end. Look, it's unfortunate, but we get more Overwatch action out of these two.
Yeah, I mean, who can really complain about that? Honestly, it was Susanoo doing us a favor, ensuring that we get to see as much classic Overwatch as we can during these last few days, weeks here. Ocean, this is getting a little bit intense between the two, and I can only imagine what is going on through the minds of these teams right now.
Yeah, I mean, Susanoo, probably a bit of anger, I would assume, a bit of frustration. But I imagine they have the cool heads in there to kind of bounce back, and you kind of say that they were probably favourite for this matchup. And Avoided Retirement Home, they're kind of also a team they'll be fine. Vibes wise, they'll be like, okay, we just want a map against a good roster. We're just going to play our way. That's always kind of how and Avoided Retirement Home has been. So I think it's going to be a good map 3. Of course, Houston will get the map pick. It will probably be something like Kings Row, a little bit more linear, where you can play a little bit more direct, which we've been seeing Susanoo be playing extremely direct this entire series so far. And it's going to be a hybrid map type. So, yeah, I'm imagining a very quick Kings Row incoming.
A very quick King. Is that quick in the selection or quick in terms of how long it takes these teams to actually play the map there, Ocean?
Selection.
Okay, I got you. And I did just get word as well, Foreshadow we saw going to be coming out. It's going to be Psy going in for them. Not a huge surprise. Foreshadow, I think, probably not as favorable in whatever map they're kind of mulling over in their minds, the anticipation as Psy might be. Although I just am very familiar with Psy, so maybe that's
that makes you think that they might not pick Kings Row, because Foreshadow's a very good Cassidy player, right? So if you're going to play Brawl, maybe on Kings Row, or you might want Foreshadow in the lineup. So I'm actually not sure now. I mean, I still think Kings Row is the good pick here. It's very linear. You can play very aggressive. You can play very direct, and that's where Susanoo have gotten all of their value in this series.
Yeah, definitely have to think so. And you were mentioning a little bit earlier, NA Avoided kind of, playing that that very well defined. And, I don't think NA Avoided are ever too concerned about what people think about them. They're a bunch of very specialized players, and not specialized in those players that, people are most fond of. We see a lot of those kind of BM characters. So you love to see it, and I think it's gonna work out well for them. Again, it comes down to that specialization. You know how to play your characters on every map, and no matter what you pick, you're going to be feeling good. So how can you catch your opponents off guard?
Yeah, it's really interesting to see a team like this compete every single time. They're not going to always get the best results, right?
Mhm.
Like, that's just how these sort of, I guess, specialist teams work. They're not going to get the best results, but they're going to have fun. They're going to have an identity, which is something that some teams, even in Tier 2, struggle to have, right? You sometimes watch contenders, you're like, okay, what's this team trying to do? Well, you look at the roster, what's this team trying to do? Hey, avoid retirement. Huh? They're here to play their heroes. They're here to play to make things messy. They're here to play chaotically. You kind of already get that with the roster, the heroes they're playing, and their play style, right? That's a good identity to have. Just kind of want to slow things down. Talk away some of the mini narratives brewing so far. Cohesion on their return, I guess, to competitive Overwatch in the public eye is playing rather well. You know, their timing's been very good and getting a lot of value out of heroes like Tracers. So good job to Cohesion there. A little mini narrative of Aquamarine coming into the lineup for Rialto. Seemed to work out. They won the map, so maybe we'll still see more of Aquamarine.
Yeah, I would not be surprised as the map has been called Eichenwald. Very, very fond of this map as well. We don't see it as much as King's Row. Obviously, King's Row kind of one of those favorites, the Overwatch classic, the Overwatch bread and butter, if you will. But Eichenwald, a nice alternative when you want to take it a little bit different of a turn, of a look, if you will.
No, I'm gonna come at you with the hot take, Cyril. Are you ready for this? You ready for this?
Yeah.
Eichenwald is the best hybrid map in the game. Factually.
Oh, I'm
King's Row. Nah. If you want to play direct and you play Overwatch like that, absolutely fine. I actually thought we were gonna see King's Row. I thought that's how Susano wanted to take it. But Eichenwald, I think is a better map. Alright, just saying.
So we agree and disagree, Ocean. Okay, here's the thing. I don't think King's Row is my favorite hybrid map, but I don't think it's Eichenwald either. I actually give it to Numbani. I really like some Numbani on myself.
I like Numbani too, but look, I don't like getting ranked. I don't like playing Numbani at night because, like, you know, it's quite a difficult map to attack on, right? Because it's such a long stretch from this spawn to point A, right? So maybe that's why I kind of bring Numbani back. I'm an Eichenwald fan though, because look, point A, you're kind of playing in tighter areas, tighter chokes, and then look at point B, right? What sort of mess is that? You got castles, you got high grounds, you got mega health packs in some sort of sewer-like area, you got a bridge full of boobs, right? Point B on Eichenwald might be my favorite objective in this game.
There's a lot of dynamics to that point B, and it allows a lot of different play styles to shine. I feel you have that high ground that can be so dominant for a number of different compositions. And speaking of compositions, we're going to get to see what NA Voided are going to be opting into on this defense to start.
Big surprise here. No Aquamarine in the lineup. Aquamarine brought in for Rialto. We see NA Voided get the map win on Rialto. We don't see Aquamarine stay in the lineup. Susano kind of doing the opposite there, bringing on for Shadow, who played Rialto, for Sai, who played Nepal, where Susano were the benefits there. And you know what's really surprising to me is Susano here sticking with Yana Baptiste's composition. Still a very direct comp. All I would have thought, if you wanted to play something like this, you could have stuck with maybe King's Row, but whatever. And Susano also coming out here with double off tanks. Who's going to complete the engagement here? I'm not so sure.
I'm very curious as to the Angelic Pig immediately getting burned dangerously low, but does take down that turret that Sai was looking to build up as quick as possible, or set up as quick as possible, I should say. And now we're seeing Kosh try to lead in. They're taking a little bit of damage, use that kinetic breath to get themselves out of that tight spot. Nice impact right onto the wrecking ball, going to be stopping them in their tracks, and Gummy going to be looking to go on the chase. Eventually cleaned up, and Susano now in a very good spot. That Mercy has to take a moment to try to go for the res, and that enables Gummy to really focus down, get that support player out as well. And this is not a spot you want to be in if you're NA Voided. Stuck inside a small hallway against this composition can be a brutal moment.
I mean, they're just going to get to clean up kills here as well, so they're going to be able to extend up onto the high ground as well. That's ideal for Susano here. Best first team fight they could have had. I want to talk about that rock from Visage though, right? Yeah. Because that stops Ham and Main engaging, and that's kind of what Susano's composition struggles with, right? There's no main tank here. The primary engagement tools in Overwatch, right? Your main tank tool isn't there. So when you're walking in, that's when you're going to be at your most vulnerable, and when that engagement from Ham and Main gets shut down by just a singular rock, then your biggest challenge of your composition is already automatically gone, and that's why it was so easy for Susanoo at point down.
But keep eyes on Angelic. They're able to get a couple of kills starting now, so might be able to turn things into the defensive favor. It's going to be the Transcendence coming out from Goob. Not quite sure that that was supremely effective. It didn't see quite as much damage. That looked like it was going to flow in and then just waited out for the Gravitic Flux. But right now, it looks like the defense are doing an excellent job at holding this point. They're going to be pushing back these attackers. Hunter might be looking to get a pick, pull out those last few remaining late stagger kills. It might be the D.Va. That'd be crucial.
Yeah, I'm just kind of worried for Susanoo here on point B, right? Because you've got Bedtime Story, benefits from the Soaring Ground, Angelica. It's only on Genji, very chaotic, very direct here with the Dragon Blade. And you're already on a composition that's going to struggle to kind of walk into team fights. It's going to be hard for Susanoo. And you've already lost Cohesion now, which is going to be your EMP, your kind of main wing condition. Obvious though, so you've at least got an ultimate out of the defense.
Very curious as to that, Bob. Maybe just to stall out that attack a little bit more. Hunter has that full hog, might be looking for it. No, instead gets the Sombra and gets the kill before the accretion hits. That is crucial. Cohesion has not really been able to play these last couple of fights.
Yeah. Okay, Cohesion's really struggled here to get value out of the Sombra. I mean, not in terms of the series. Cohesion's had a pretty good series, I would say, so far. Got the EMP, though, but they had to get value out of this EMP, and then I imagine Cohesion probably will go over to the Tracer after that. So, how are they going to set up this ultimate? It's going to get hooked! Almost go down! Oh my word!
I would have perhaps lost my mind if we saw Cohesion get taken out a third time. It's going to be that hog getting hacked. Hunter eventually able to be taken down. No hook, no breather. Just that Mercy Beam trying to keep them up, but Bitter can only do so much. Bob now going to be rushing onto the scene. The Transcendence once again coming out from Goop, trying to keep everybody alive, including Bob. Omnix supporting Omnix. You like to see it. Eventually, Bedtime Story Bob will be taken down, however, but NA Void is still able to put a little bit of damage onto the attacking team.
Yeah, I think this will be fine though. I think this will be a team point win for Susanoo. It's going to get a little bit more awkward as they approach this bridge. Hunter's on the high ground here with the wall. Looking to claim their next victim, gets the hook on to Gummy, and this is all setting up for Angelica's Dragon Blade. Perfect.
No D.Va, that Sigma misses the rock, and Angelica now just going to be looking for it, trying to bait out whatever cooldowns they can or whatever positioning they can. EMP goes out in Cohesion and it just gets two. It doesn't even get the Zenyatta. Goob not caught out because of it. That might have been a pretty large misplay.
Ooh, I imagine Cohesion will be something up for the Sombra, so no. Well, maybe we'll see it. We'll see it now. Like Cohesion actually went down. I imagine Tracer would be the call, because I highly doubt they're saying on the top. But there we go.
Maybe the Gravitic Flux coming in from Akash, but taken down before it really deals too much damage. And again, the follow-up just didn't feel like it was there from Susanoo.
I think Akash might be stopping as well, maybe to the Wrecking Ball. No, going to stay on the Sigma. I actually can't say I agree with that. I think Akash needs to get onto something that can get on the back line. That's when Susanoo looked at their best in this series, right?
Okay. Angelica going to be getting 2 kills, and eventually we do see Akash make that transfer. Better late than never, but again, only a minute 40 left. It's been avoided buying a lot of time on the second point.
I mean, I just think it's just they can't get onto the backline. They can't actually set up an engagement. There's the swap for Akash that I thought we were going to be seeing a little bit earlier. So Cohesion and Goofy Troop more Akash in the lineup. They're going to be taking upon themselves to get into the backline, but so is Angelica on the other side of things. It's going to be a kind of a war between the front lines and the back lines of these rosters, and Sign going down early, as well as Cohesion. It's not a great first step for season.
Yeah, of course, I like saying that the teeth have been pulled from this team. When you lose both the DPS, you're not just going to be able to punch as hard. Susanoo going to have to eventually regroup, reform themselves, and I mean, you're going in with the Brig, but it's so confusing to me to see Akash Gummy playing those fast characters that can kind of get away from that Brig a little too easily.
I like the Brigade to pick here because you could give packs to like Cohesion as soon as they go to the backline. That's healing over time, so that'll set you up for a little bit more of an aggressive engagement. You could, I guess, heal for Switch a little bit easier as well. I actually kind of like the Brig thing.
Angelica going to be going in with the Blade, only able to get one. However, that Baptiste taken down, so that's going to be a large source of healing. It's all going to be on to Divination's Brig. Goob has the Transcendence, though, and nothing to stop it with no nade being in effect. Hunter going to be throwing in the whole hog as well, confining everybody into this small room. Eventually has to break LOS because of that D.Va self-destruct. And Bedtime Story going to be cutting down that Ashe, so once again, Susanoo going to be finding no support, down to 1 support, I should say. Bob now going to be making his way onto the field, dealing a lot of damage, and we've seen Bedtime Stories Bob be pretty lethal on Rialto, and I think it's being quite effective here on Eichenwald as well.
I think this is going to be done. I think point B is going to be held. I think Susanoo waited way too long to make those changes. I think, you know, had we seen another minute or two of Eichenwald, we would say Cohesion and Goofy Tube or Kosh would start to get more value on those more mobile heroes that could aggress onto the back. I think everything was just way too comfortable for NA Avoided. Look, positives, I guess, for Susanoo are, look, we're going to be playing most of this next round, where Susanoo are going to decide their fate for this series on point A, which is a little less open compared to point B, which is going to be more favourable towards Susanoo compared to NA Avoided. However, one team fight really from NA Avoided Retirement, and when we go to point B, and that's going to be their preferred playhouse, as we saw in the previous round.
It is going to be their preferred playhouse. It's going to be their preferred zone, you have to think. But with this Ashe, you got to think, can NA Avoided, even if they win that first fight, kind of get themselves in that superior positioning, or will Susanoo have the opportunity to kind of have that mental reset, take that positioning before they lose that first point in entirety, and prevent NA Avoided from really getting that ideal second point positioning?
Yeah, I think this is going to be interesting. I actually don't have an answer to your question, so I'm stalling. I'm kind of thinking about how this is going to go. I think this is going to be really awkward for Susanoo, because they don't have much to play with, right? If it was the end of point B, that you could kind of, change your approach on point B or do something that's going to match what NA Avoided are doing. You don't have that leeway here. You're just going to play what you're playing. You're not going to have time really to make switches unless you get a really strong hold on point A. And it looks like they're gonna match it again. It's gonna be something more mobile. They're gonna try and get onto the back line of NA Avoided. The question is, can you stop NA Avoided from getting set up?
You can put the Hog to sleep, and taking Hunter out of the fight means you take a lot of that CC, a lot of that potential burst damage down, but don't tell Angelica that, because they're going to be coming in with a lot of damage themselves. Bedtime Story able to be brought back into this fight courtesy of Bitter, and right now Susanoo just trying to chase down this Ham into main. They're not able to stun him out as early this time around, but NA Avoided already building up that point progress. It looks like Susanoo will be waiting for that late re-engage, and that could be dangerous here, especially if they end up losing this fight.
Oh, they coming in from Angelica though. Here we go.
Yeah, an excellent start. Should I say an excellent conclusion to this point. Now it's all going to be about that B phase, and this is what I was talking about. I don't know if Susanoo is going to be able to position themselves before NA Avoided.
Look, NA Avoided are going to be heading right towards the high ground. Susanoo are going to be heading right towards that high ground, where you'd imagine. So this is 5.5 minutes to defend what, half of point B Eichenwald, and this is not really have the tools to do that right now. I mean, sure, ultimate wise, yes. They've got the good enough players to do so, but are they going to be able to do it? Are they actually going to be able to pull this off? It's going to require some hero play. It's going to require some tremendous consistency as well, though.
We do see those ultimates start to come online, and it's going to be the sound barrier coming out early, but the Transcendence from Goop perhaps a little bit late as well, or at least not enough to overcome that pulse bomb onto Bitter. It's going to be the cleanup, and Susanoo, for the time being, have managed to buy themselves at least one more fight.
I mean, I think it's good team fight. What you use pulse bomb and sound barrier just for that team fight win. That's good for Susanoo. Really well disciplined. And the two ultimates they used got a lot of value. You also forced out both support ultimates on NA Avoided Retirement at home. That's the ideal start. And now a minute of the point B timer is off the clock. 1 nano boost here on 2 good shoot, and that's all they really need to invest.
And it will in fact be the Bob as well from Bedtime Story, so it's not even that you're just investing ultimates to win, you're investing ultimates to see them matched by NA Voided. And right now that Wrecking Ball going to be trying to contest card, but realistically not going to find anything. The hook's coming out from Hunter, and I think we're trying to see Susanoo try to get positioned to where they can't really get picked off by those hooks in those tight hallways.
Oh, I mean, gotta do best to self-destruct to make sure they keep their max size went down. This is getting a little bit messy. It was ideal. It would already been a good start for Susanoo. That pulse bomb might bring things back into play, but now they're only really looking towards a Kosh.
It's gonna be a nice kill.
Oh no!
Angelica able to still get the slash. Genji blade. Oh, that's so brutal. It's gonna be this Primal Rage Winston trying to just buy as much time once again for those respawns, and it does so successfully. Cohesion able to sweep into that small room, clean up. Oh man, NA Avoided almost had that.
I thought they had it. I thought we were going to see Angelica live at 1 HP to actually be the deciding factor here on Iconbound and for this series, but that's not the case for them, unfortunately for them, I guess. Cohesion and Akash were able to pop off towards the end of that team fight. Cohesion goes down though, so that Tracer in the backline isn't going to be a tool to use for Susano, and they're going to have to rely on Divination with that Soundbire to get any sort of value, or maybe South the moment before, but I'm really looking at Divination. He's already picked up 1 kill this team fight.
Oh, and excellent mines onto the top of the castle means that it's going to be a lot harder to hold that high ground, a lot less comfortable to maneuver around when Angelica starts poking at you. It's exactly what we're seeing. Molten Core does come outside, just trying to zone anything out. Hammond Main stuck in a little bit of an uncomfortable spot. See if they can get back up in just a moment. Bob is onto the field once again. Bedtime Story. Nice shot onto the Lucio. Coach gun into the scope. It's Bedtime Story looking excellent right now. Cleaning up the Torbjorn as well. I'll be disappointed if that's not playing the game motion.
That was kind of nuts. You see those headshots on the Winston at the end, and you know what is even crazier? And I avoided retirement, and I've just beaten probable favorites for this matchup in Susano.
Play of the game.
Yeah, overall, very, very pleased with what we saw, and NA avoided that. I think it's no doubt that it all just came down to how well they were able to hold that second point. Their first didn't look as strong with that early Wrecking Ball fall, but man, it looked great from then on out.
Well, I just think they played in the open space as well. And that kind of brings back to the map pick of Ichabod was weird. I was not a fan of it, and I'm not allowed to say that I was not a fan of it because I can't be proven wrong. I'm right. Deal with it, all right? Okay, so point B, Ichabod, there's a lot of open space. We saw in Rialto where there was a lot of open space. Susano really struggled against and I avoided. So why we don't just go to King's Row, which is more linear, I will never know.
It's a mystery to me, but this does not mean quite the end of Susano just yet. As I understand it, this is the double elimination style, so they will be taking a trip onto the lower bracket, and they avoided keep getting to cruise at that higher bracket.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know what to say really for Susano. It's a disappointing performance, but they're a good team, and they'll be able to bounce back. They've got good players, good personalities in there as well. They get on with each other. I think we'll see them later on in the bracket, in the losers bracket, definitely. And they avoided them. Good start for them. They played well, particularly on those open maps, and I hope we see it even more.
We certainly might, but make sure you stick around, folks. We're going to be taking a quick break, then coming back. More action as the last ride continues.
The Last Ride tournament was organized in an incredibly short time frame. With the team working around the clock to bring you this broadcast, we thought it was only fitting to show the team in behind-the-scenes action.
So we're going to have 12-hour days, randomized bracket seating. And did you gamers get the proposal that I sent, about Justice for Infected? For dice, they're going to have to roll a dice to see what server they get.
Sounds good to me. I don't really care, to be honest. But for the stream, I did want to ask Chase, what the are you doing?
Why the is kid here again?
You're the one who asked for his help, so...
Yeah, because he has the coin and the money, and I probably shouldn't have asked Catnap.
I mean, we have a literal child working on this now, so...
Yeah, and he doesn't know how to eat ramen. He works at a ramen company and can't use chopsticks.
Not to mention his stupid obsession with rats.
And he can't clean his room. Look at that shit.
I mean, he's too busy to clean, remember? He works in Overwatch League. Oh, wait,
Maybe instead of all that time on socials, he could have spent it touching grass.
No feelings were hurt in the making of this video, except for Chase's. He's actually really, really hurt.
What is up, my friends? My name's Jeff from Map5 Podcast. I'm here alongside Aqua, owner of Region, and general content creator for many outlets. Thank you for joining us. For people out there who might not be familiar with what you do and your role in the scene, why don't you give us a little background and tell us about yourself?
I do content for, obviously, Regen, the team that I own. I do some content over there. I do content for Reflash during Contenders Trials and stuff. I do content for some tournaments sometimes through Haven Socials. and I also do content for the Florida Mayhem, which is the best team in the Overwatch League. So
I want to hear what are your favorite moments or memories from Overwatch 1.
I think one of my favorite moments from the community was when Jeff Kaplan left Blizzard. Unironically, it really showed the amount of support the community has for people that actually care about the game and care about the title. People that like genuinely are good people and like genuinely care about the fan base and care about like the emotional impact that the game has on people. Not just like, is the game good, but like, does this game promote good ideals? As depressing as a moment as that is, I think it really showed like, hey, look, as a community, like we actually care about our game. Like,
what do you think is the biggest lesson learned from the past 6 years that we can take into Overwatch 2 as a community?
As a community, I think the biggest thing that we've learned and we need to keep in mind is that if there's problems with the game, like, just be honest about it, but don't be dickheads. Like, people are learning, like, especially at lower levels of the scene, like tier 3, tier 4, even at tier 2, like, people are still learning, right? Like, nobody holds perfect events. People are constantly changing. Like, perfect example would be the Toronto Goats tournament that just happened, right? Like, it had an SR cap for like 3.5 for some reason, and they changed it, right? They realized that's what the community wanted because we were respectful about it, right? Things that we need to take into the into Overwatch 2 is like when we have people coming into the community that like genuinely want to contribute, like just be mild mannered. Like if there's problems, be honest about it, but like don't derail the train, you know. So
over the past 6 years, what do you think has been your favorite community tournament?
I'm biased. I am a big fan of the Florida Mayhem Classic. I'm genuinely unbiased. They go, hey, look, tier 2 is the lifeblood of our community, and tier 3 is fed by them. Let's hold an event that fosters both, and it's always ran well. They've done multiple of them. The prize pool is pretty decent, and at the same time, like they interact with the community. This was before I was even hired by them, but they interact with the community. They have a good time doing it. They do tons of giveaways. They bring in, they do something that no other tournament really does. You need to have these events where it's like, hey, look, we're bringing in the casual Andes, right? Like the normal people, like the people that aren't degenerates like the rest of us. And they come in and they watch it and they go, hey, look, this isn't bad. The casters are good. It's funny. It's supported by a team that I like, like the Florida Mayhem or like, Toronto does events from time to time. And it blends all of that together. And it also provides a stage for players to like show off their talent. It's the best of both worlds.
Move on. Final question. Okay, what are you looking forward to most moving forward, moving into Overwatch 2? What excites you the most, Aqua?
I'm genuinely excited for the vast amount of content and the amount of effort that Blizzard's put into it. Like, it's very clear that they said, hey, look, we need to get the multiplayer out. We need to have this ready to go for the general public. And I'm genuinely impressed. Every single friend of mine that is not involved in Path to Pro has pretty much quit Overwatch. And they all signed up for the beta. Every single one of them, like all 20 of them, all signed up for the beta. And that alone is the thing I'm excited for the most, is the fact that it's bringing back the general population of the band. Like, it's going to be a game again. Like, like people are, the fan base is coming back. It's coming home, right? Like, and I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm excited to see new people. I'm excited to see new people to the scene.
Well, Aqua, thank you so much for... No, I love it. I love your passion, my friend. I love your passion. And I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with us. It's been a blast.
Hello, folks. We are back. We are live, and we are here with our second game for the Last Ride Invitational. Sir Waltham Ocean still here to bring you the fantastic game against Bearclaw and Commander Doji up next.
Yep, Bearclaw Gaming, a team kind of like high up in Tier 3 North America. Cool roster, cool DPS line with Bana and Zara. Big fan of that DPS line. I'm going to talk about Commander Doji though, so unlucky Bearclaw. I'm going to highlight this roster. Commander Doji, led by Doge on main tank. Who could have guessed? Also, you'll know some of the names on this roster. Finzi, Kellex, oh god, I'm going to call him Will. Or Will Momo is, I've given up. Right, get a better name, alright? Jesus. Hard to say. And we're also going to see Abheek in this roster as well.
And Ocean, I have to be completely sincere with you. I'm going to put you on blast. I can't hear you in Discord. I believe you're muted, my friend. So we're going to need to get that fixed up before I can begin to address what you said. But I'm sure...
well, that's unfortunate. That's that is really unfortunate.
I'm sure everybody at home could hear you. It's just me.
They can hear me. Yeah, you can't. You just don't. You actually just aren't allowed to hear my voice after what you did to me last night. Sir Wolfram, right? Sir Wolfram decided to play Overwatch with other friends last night, so I actually decided to sabotage him on broadcast.
Oh wow!
But yeah, that was the real plan after all. I said I forgave you last night. I hadn't. Anyways, so now you know the narrative we're going with. I was highlighting the DPS line of Bearclaw with Ban and Zara, and I was just kind of going through the cool roster that Commander Doji has with names like Doge, Finzi, and Kellex.
Oh, some very good names. A couple of familiar names as well. But once again, I got to be looking to see these two teams take it in a pretty intense battle here moving forward. Of course, we are in our second round, and we're still in the upper bracket, meaning anybody who loses here will still not be knocked out of the tournament. They'll just be sent down to the lower levels to fight for their lives.
Yeah, winners round 2. It's going to be exciting. Bearclaw, of course, had seeding in this round already. Commander Doji beating Rija, 2-0. 2-0 in the previous round. I think this is going to be a really close game, right? We've seen these players at the upper echelons of contenders. A couple of these players being in the Overwatch League for Commander Doji. And Bearclaw are just a top tier 3 team right now in North America. So we'll see how these two square up against each other.
And to see that square up, we do have word of what our first map, that control map, is going to be. And it's going to be Busan Ocean. Busan, I feel like, hasn't been one of those maps that we see a lot, but I feel like it's still a very good example of those control maps that allow you to see a bunch of different styles within Overwatch. Usually we talk about Ilios, we talk about Lijiang particularly as being one of the more favorite control maps.
Yeah, I actually like this map. This is my favourite control. I don't know why. Today I've just decided I'm listing all my map opinions. It's just what's happened. Because yeah, Busan, you're gonna have like dive-like styles potentially on Downtown. You could potentially play Brome or Maccabees, for example. There's a lot of different options that we can see on this map. It just depends on what your team prefers, or what you're preparing to go up against. It really just depends. There's lots of diversity, lots of different things you can run here on Busan.
Yeah, and of course, because it does come down to, different map sets or different submaps featuring different styles, for these teams, it may be all dependent on which submap comes first. Does a team have itself built towards Sanctuary or towards Mecha Base and Downtown comes up first? Well, that's not going to put them in a great spot leading into the rest of the map. So very interesting. I feel like it's one of those factors about Overwatch that doesn't really get talked about in terms of kind of a pseudo-randomness.
Yeah, I'm excited for this game. I do think that Busan is going to be really interesting because when I think of Bearclaw, I kind of think that they're going to be really good at Sombra Tracer. That's what I think because Zara is a really good Tracer player. She's a really good Sombra player. So I think the Bearclaw, more Downtown in particular, they can run Sombra Tracer, and that's going to be exciting. You might see it on Sanctuary as well. I don't know if it's going to be in like a more rushy brawl sort of style with like a Winston, or if it's going to be with a Wrecking Ball in like a more spam dive sort of style. I don't know. I haven't watched enough Bearclaw to know, but I would imagine it's going to be Wrecking Ball.
Well, we will be finding out here in just a moment as we start to see these rosters come online. It looks like both the Commander Squad and Bearclaw are going to be opting into that Wrecking Ball. At least so far, we do have the opportunity to be... I should say I have the opportunity to be debated here. I get debated all the time, Ocean. I'm sure you know.
Yeah, I'm also now flabbergasted. I'm annoyed. Bearclaw, what are you doing? I've just highlighted Bun. and they're not in the launch. What is going on here?
Wow.
What? Look, Sir Wolfram, you sabotaging me as well,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah.
are conspiring with Berkeley to ruin my narratives. How dare you?
You see, the difference is I don't reveal my hand, meaning that the failure is still all your fault as perceived by the audience. But either way, both these teams going to be looking to have this fight in the small drum room. No side really coming out too aggressively just yet, but Commander Doji, as soon as I say that, they're getting 2 kills, cleaning up the Tracer as well. So they're starting out very well. They do lose their Zenyatta, but they're probably not going to be too bothered by that. That Wrecking Ball barely able to get away, but Skater Boy on the chase.
Are you fan of our living, Sir Wolfram?
I was back in the early 2000s.
Alright, okay. Well, Skater Boy's popping off in this first team fight. That's why we just gonna. I didn't know that about you. And of course, Will Mamone or Will. You're getting Will for the rest of the game. Popping off with the Tracer. I think 3 or 4 final blows already. 75% to that pulse bomb. That's gonna be a good Tracer matchup. Will versus Zara on the Tracer. I'm really excited to see that. So keep your eyes on that little matchup going into this next team fight, as well as just to point out, Helix already extremely close to that Valkyrie.
Well, we were talking about the Tracer matchup, but how about Ruby, the Zen versus Zera on that Tracer? We're going to be taking a little bit of a nap. I didn't know Omnix needed to sleep Ocean, but apparently Ruby gets too tired from killing all these Tracers, and now it's going to be a little bit of a front line trying to deal out with this Diva, but Gator Boy trying to buy a lot of pressure, buys too much, and Haven able to take them down. Bearclaw now look in a prime position to hold themselves, apply some pressure onto point. The Transcendence is going to come out, but Commander Doji needs to try to get something to contest or they lose it.
Yeah, good Valkyrie. For Commander Doji to try and get the gamers back into the team fight, but it's not going to matter. Bearclaw with Zera and Haven able to pick up those kills. The start of this next team fight is going to be really interesting because you've got Doge with the minefield, for example. Yeah. That's going to be a nice engagement zone, but you've also got engagement tools to the other side of things. I was going to talk about the Nana, but Pink went down, so it's really just Zera with that pulse bomb and maybe an early tactical advisor. Bearclaw have options, but they're just unable to use them right now.
Huge fan of Ruby, just based off of what you've seen the Zenyatta play so far. And Bearclaw, again, going to be struggling to hold here. They lose too many members early on in the setup phase. It's going to be the mines coming out from Astro, and I'm not sure I necessarily like that, but the Nano Tac Visor coming in from Haven applies a lot of damage, but who else but Ruby coming in, securing a kill on that lethal soldier. Now Bearclaw still have the opportunity, thanks to Haven and Pink committing their ultimates. Captain Rex going to be applying a lot of pressure with that Gravitic Flux, but it doesn't look like it's going to be quite enough to win the fight.
Astronics gets a nice little bone drive there on Captain Rex. That's how it's going to end. Bearclaw are going to have the advantage right now. Kellick's going over to the Brigitte. Skaterboy going over to the Soldier 76. They've had enough of that far. Of course, Bearclaw's composition is pretty much too mobile for them to get any value out of that. And look, the main engagement tool here for Commander Doji is dying. And now they're in a little bit of trouble. It's just kind of Will right now on the point, trying to force resources out of the back line, and then I think we'll see Commander Doji come back in with their Wrecking Ball with a more serious engagement, probably with that minefield.
Obviously, Pink trying to keep their soldier up while that Tracer, Maimone, going to be continuing to try to harass. It's going to be the Wrecking Ball spinning around on point, but Bearclaw have to be very careful. They don't let themselves get too spread out. Haven going to be receiving the Nano Boost, but doesn't have the Tac Visor to pair with it. We'll just be looking to deal as much damage as possible, eventually able to take down Captain Rex on that Sigma. Missiles go out. I'm not quite able to connect onto anything, but the damage may have already been done with that Sigma going down, but now it's going to be the return of Skater Boy's Tac Visor. They're trying to be kept alive, but eventually closed on by Graham, by the Wrecking Ball as well. Astro going to be having their hand in that defeat, and the point does get flipped over to the Commander squad, and the Bearclaw immediately trying to get it back. They do not want to let that progress tick up any faster, and nobody from the Commander team is able to contest or stop that.
I think they're just kind of relying on a post bomb for Will. It's not able to get anything, and now they're just kind of scampering up the point. A very, very low Wrecking Ball on both teams. I think whoever gets that kill, they've probably got the advantage.
Oh, but I'm going to be coming in with 2 kills of their own. That Tac Visor going to be looking good. Commander able to get 2 kills with the grappling hook, but it doesn't matter. Swings a little too far off a point. Not sure actually if I saw them at all on point, but yeah, an excellent performance so far from Bearclaw.
That was the most unique double Tac Visor I've ever seen in my life. I don't know why I got such a chuckle out of that. It was just 2 instant kills in the Tac Visor from Haven, who had loads of space on that right-hand side angle, or at least right-hand side from the perspective that we were watching online before you call me out for my power directional skills. And going into this next map here on Persona, we're going into Mecha Base. It's going to be Brawl here from Commander Doji. No surprise there. Going to be interesting to see, some of those little micro battles that we were seeing between like Zera and Will. They're now changed over, right? So how is Zera going to get value against this Brawl composition? How is Will going to get value out of this Mei against a very mobile composition? Imagine it's going to be a little bit more of a struggle for Will than it is going to be on Zera.
See Commander Doji team trying to just navigate themselves immediately as close to the fight as possible. What else do you expect from a Brawl Skater Boy using that teleporter to get themselves tucked in nice and close? Kellic coming in with that Lucio, going to be getting 2 kills. The Sigma taking himself out. Maximus perhaps a little bit of a miscalculation, or at least just wanting to go out on their own terms.
Yep. Team fight done. I'm really surprised Commander Doji were able to just kind of walk on Barraclaw. I would have thought they would have noticed that and rotated a little bit deeper to make that more difficult. It was a good teleporter from Skater Boy to set up. That engagement's so well played there. Good team fight from Commander Doji, but I'm really surprised Barraclaw let that happen. You'd think they're the kind of compositional advantage here unless Commander Doji gets in their face.
Zero going to be looking to get right onto that Baptiste. Ruby taken down, not looking as much of a threat as they were on Sanctuary on that Zenyatta, but Commander Doji so far going to be having a good numbers advantage here. Maximus, however, going to be closing things up with the kill onto the Symmetra. You see 85% closer to that Gravitic Flux, has it. Volstomp goes out, not able to connect too much, but it doesn't look like it needed to. Bearclaw still in firm control, or will be in firm control once they get the recap.
Yep, that's going to be a team fight done, and Dusty. Paris had a really good map so far, haven't they? Absolutely. Really enjoyed their performance thus far. I'm still fuming. Bun's not in the lineup. I was going to talk about narrative today. Bun and Zara being a DPS lineup for 18 months. They played together on No Evil and Guerrilla Grip Gaming in the previous times, right? They're a good DPS lineup. I want to see what they can do at Overwatch 2. But that's not going to happen. We're just going to talk about this engagement. Very aggressive here from Commander Doji.
There's a lot of ultimates coming out right now. We saw the Earth Shatter, we saw the Amplification Matrix, the Sound Barrier, Transcendence. I'm losing track. Ocean, you're not the only one who can't quite count up to 3. Commander Cody now going to be going aggressive onto Pink, but gets a little bit too distracted. Astronauts going to be able to take them down. Skater Boy pushing up immediately onto the Sigma, trying to at least wear down those shields, can drop down and just regain their health a little bit at least. But Commander Doji so far looking very good for this fight, and gotta keep being good for it. They need to get that recap.
I think this team fight's going to be done for Commander Doji. That was a really good aggressive engagement. I think for Commander Doji to kind of get value in this compositional matchup, they've got to be extremely direct, right? They've got to get either the back line of Baron, or they just kind of got to be extremely fast. When you see a target, run on them. Doesn't matter who it is. You kind of want to try and get on the Pink right now in particular.
Oh no! Oh, and Graham using that rally and immediately getting sectioned off. Forced down. That is so brutal. And it looks like Commander Doji's still not going to let up off the gas. They're still applying a lot of pressure here. Ruby in the back end doesn't even seem to be needed for the moment. Skater Boy and their turrets cleaning up another
goodbye, Maximus.
I am.
Oh, goodbye, Skater Boy, though. I think Commander Doji have to play aggressive, because otherwise you're giving up space to Zera, who just part of a hold spot, but is still being poking off so far in this round. And then you're also giving space to Astronix and Haven, who have ultimates coming up.
Another Maywall coming in, trying to create that difference. Pink going to be going down. Bob coming through, but Haven themselves is going to be dropping. In the meantime, though, somebody's going to be able to get the point flip. It's going to be the Sigma. It's going to be Zero on the Tracer. And Astro next in the meantime, able to get 2 kills. That Sim going to be able to teleport herself and her team a little bit more aggressively, but a Maximus on the Gravitic Flux doesn't even take down the Sim.
I mean, the Symmetra's low, so I mean, I guess you can see like Zara coming back in later, maybe taking that kill. Not an option anymore after the Sound Barrier, but it's still looking pretty messy for Commander Doji.
Commander Doji not quite out of this fight just yet, though they do have point control. Zero looking to just dip around, try to cut as much damage as they can. Transcend, it's going to be making them a little bit more survivable as well. That Lucio getting caught out. Kellic with a pat on the back, taken to the grave, as does the Diva. Now a nice point flip, and Bearclaw not quite out of this, but a lot of pressure relief.
Zara and Astronics, I'm telling you, the players to watch out for. Although I didn't highlight Astronics at the start of the map, but I'm going to pretend I did now. Having a really, really good map so far on the Wrecking Ball. I think those are the two players you're kind of looking at to make plays here for Bearclaw. Their setup engagements or just be the definitive factor in these team fights. Both will have ultimates yet again here, and it's going to be up to Commander Doji and the rest of the squad to play direct enough to whether his ultimates won't get vulnerable.
High ground for Commander Doji. That's exactly where they want to play. It's going to be the Pulse Bomb going out, and Ruby taking down once again. Earth Shadow going in, the Diva Bomb as well to follow up. Doesn't get too much though. Commander X going to be able to get for the quick remech, however, and Commander Doji able to apply continuous pressure onto this point. Now Skater Boy on the high ground, looking to just drill away at Astronix. Trying to get what they can, but can't quite connect onto that Wrecking Ball to make them drop, dangerously climbing towards that dead eye, looking to zone out that point even more aggressively, and somebody from Bearclaw has to try to touch. It's going to be Zero, but only for a moment. Skater Boy goes in for that dead eye, not able to find anything, and Brad a 1-1 now.
Wow. I'm really impressed that Commander Doji and the rest of the squad were able to pull that off. I was really, no, genuinely, I don't know why, I'm kind of in shock. I thought the compositional matchup was firmly in favour of Bearclaw. I thought the way that Zara and Astronics were playing was kind of perfect. I will have a criticism though of Bearclaw. Yeah, no, I can hear the groans already. Oh look, it's Ocean, we're going to get critique. Alright, okay, sorry. Backline for Bearclaw I thought got cut off way too easy. I thought they died a lot, and they were really easy for Commander Doji to approach onto. I think they could have played either a little bit deeper, or, I mean, I guess they just could have, you know, I don't know. I think deeper is just the best response to that. They were easily walked onto, and they lost their ultimates a lot as well. They really, really struggled. I thought the backline of Bearclaw, but we're going to see this matchup again. Similar matchup, however, Commander Doji this time on Somber Tracer. Look, only the foul when we see these sort of compositions.
That was a very long tangent just to say that you missed fun in this composition here, Ocean, but either way, we're seeing Commander Doji immediately try to get towards that point, positioning that Drake, getting pressured down. Graham has to keep shields up, and that means she can't swing, can't keep rocking that Inspire. And right now, no team really getting those initial point positionings until, that is, their car being able to set up, gets themselves in a great way. Haven enabling that first kill with the follow-up. No support for Commander Doji. They just have to try to get out, get away, and get safe.
I think they're okay. They're just gonna go. They're gonna go. They've got themselves set up aggressively here. They've got the better Discord orbs. They've got some good kills. Now it's time to take that advantage towards the objective, but they're not going to do it. They have to wait for their supports, unfortunately. I mean, I would have just went straight to point and risked it anyway. You had the kills, and now you're just kind of allowing Bearclaw and the rest of their squad to get back.
Quite a bit of time here, and without too much conflict, we're once again seeing a pretty easy flip for Commander Doji. Ruby, once again, will always highlight that player as long as on Zenyatta they continue to get those kills. It's going to be the Tracer versus Tracer battle, not going in favor of Zero, so maybe a bad omen for this fight on downtown, and this is not the one when you want to have a bad performance, because this is the one that will decide. Busan Pulsebomb tries to go out, doesn't end up connecting onto too much. Diva is going to get D-mech, so that means that the push coming in from Bearclaw is going to be a little bit stunted. Commander Cody has mines, looks ready to pile drive should the option present itself.
I think this is going to be really on the DPS this round. Zara versus Will, and then also this EMP, right? It's going to be really important. Is this Somber really going to get more value than the Soldier 76? It theoretically should, but we need the EMPs to back that up, and Skater Boy, that ultimate's going to be extremely important. And if that ultimate isn't great, tactical visor for Haven. So again, look, DPS narrative is setting itself up quite well here.
Oh no! And Skater Boy didn't. It looked like Skater Boy was setting up for that EMP, or it looked like they were animating into it. Didn't get canceled, though. Still has it in pocket. It's going to be the mines going out, though, and Graham caught in an incredibly uncomfortable position. The attack visor comes out with the Zenyatta Transcendence, keeps everybody alive. Good response from Commander Doji, and Commander Cody now just gonna be barreling through everybody.
I think Commander Cody might be down. Just suspicion based on the naming thing that we've been given here, right? We also got Captain Rex, which I assume is Finzi on the roster we're getting. So they're just giving us some new titles for these gamers, I guess. Right, that's what we've gone with. I mean, we have to focus on this EMP. If it's a good EMP, it should theoretically win this map. for Commander Doji. If it isn't, look at those ultimates. So let's watch Pick and see if they can avoid that EMP with that Zenyatta and get that Transcendence off.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. Zenyatta is the one person who wants to avoid getting hit by that EMP. Goes down, Pink just as quickly responds with that Transcendence, was ready for it. They knew it was coming as this is towards the last fight. Diva Bomb goes down, free Captain Rex. Probably turned the fight there all by themselves. It's going to be Skater Boy who eventually falls, but there's not going to be much left for Bear Claw to try to recoup here. It's going to be that Brig eventually taken down. The remake attempt coming in from Maximus, eventually getting demexed themselves. Overtime's gonna tick down, and man, what a huge bomb!
That was a sizable self-destruct, if you will. Wow,
Yeah.
wow. I saw there was like some sort of bomb spot like hit on like the roof of that little platform, I guess, and just went right onto the point. It exploded all over everyone. That was absolutely nuts. I mean, you can see it from the point of view. You can see the backline trying to get away, and it's quite like quivering away to the right hand side of your screen there. That was quite funny, but really good self-destruct, and that's probably the play that wins Commander Doji that map.
Oh yeah, you have to think so. I mean, I'm not saying it was impossible for Commander Doji if they didn't drop that bomb in such a pristine place, but it really would have been difficult. I mean, you had already, kind of countered. You had your EMP countered, but it didn't really matter because when you get 3 kills on the board, it doesn't matter how many abilities the opponents have. It's a tough fight to win, nigh impossible.
There is one scenario where getting 3 kills and the board isn't good enough, so it's when your opponent kills 6. No, see, just countering the logic there. This could be interesting. I actually really like both of these teams and how they've played so far. I do want to highlight this DPS matchup more. It's gonna be interesting to see if Bun comes into the lineup. Please just feed my narrative, please. I want to see Tracer Sombra versus Tracer Sombra. I'm praying at this point. I will get on my knees if I have to. You won't see it, but I will.
Well, Ocean, I'm sure that at some point they'll have to give in to you. I mean, you're being so persuasive right now. You're providing them all of the encouragement to play. Bun,
I could threaten them. That's another idea. I could just threaten Bearclaw.
Okay, well then I retract it. I guess you haven't
Bun.
done everything you could.
Well, I could. I haven't done it yet, so I just haven't thought of a good threat yet.
So what you're telling me is you don't want it bad enough. I mean, that's fine. If you don't want to see Bun play in this game, then that's on you.
I just want to see a good DPS Tracer Sombra versus Tracer Sombra because I am a weird person that likes Tracer Sombra gameplay. I know a lot of people don't like it because their backline is just destroyed and it's upsetting and it's sad. I enjoy it. I think it's an always fun, high tempo Overwatch.
We have gotten word that our next map for some more high-tempo Overwatch is going to be Route 66, of course, on that escort style. And, I believe we were talking about it last matchup. That Sombra kind of pretty effective back in the day when she was able to build ult charge based off of those hacked medkits. This is one of those maps. This and Volskaya, definitely 2 of those crucial maps where Sombra was really popular.
You remember when Sombra used to use a flex support on these maps? People don't realize how crazy Overwatch was. You used to use Sombra as like a flex support, right? Because really got that healing advantage, right? We're gonna go to Route 66. Look, I expect to see more of the same. We might see some brawl versus dying compositions that we kind of saw on Mecha Base. We could see the same mirror matchup, which I kind of also expect. It's going to be interesting to see if we still have those same DPS differences that we saw on Busan.
So, Ocean, take me through this. Assuming we saw the same teams and the same composition, or not the same compositions, if we see different compositions come through on Route 66, how do you think this impacts Bear Claw and Commander's teams respectively? If we see, let's say a brawl come through, if we see that divier compositions come through, what do you think? How do you think these teams are favored?
Well, so I would have assumed if we saw Commander Doji play the brawl and Bear Claw play the Specky Ball composition that's quite coming from different angles, right? It's quite harassing, it's quite taxing on Reinhardt's in particular. I would have assumed that Bear Claw would have a tremendous advantage there. I think that Reinhardt compositions play really badly in the Wrecking Ball compositions, and unfortunately for Bear Claw, they just got caught off guard. Commander Doji played extremely direct and were able to kind of counteract those differences, but I don't think we're going to see that here. I'm not surprised to see kind of a mirror matchup. I think the only thing we're going to see different is that Commander Doji are running the Diva for more consistency, where Bear Claw running Sigma for a little bit more spam damage in particular. So that kind of means that Berkeley are going to be playing a little bit further back. They're going to look to get their back line into like more high ground oriented spaces, I would assume. And then Haven is going to also play from a little bit deeper. So they have a little bit more spam potential than Commander Doji would. But Commander Doji is a little bit more brawl potential, in my personal opinion, compared to Berkeley.
We'll see which one ends up panning out as the superior play style here, or at least the superior performance. And Ruby, I don't know how many times I have to say their name before everybody gives them the respect they deserve. Coming out here with an instant kill onto Pink. That means that Zenyatta not going to be in effect. And now Commander Cody taking this Tracer on a little bit of a run around. It's going to eventually be peeled for by Maimone. Going to be looking to provide a breath of relief, but that means two members now not going to be able to be at that front line contesting that card. The Brig, now so many people just trying to apply some sort of relief onto this back end. Eventually does catch the Wrecking Ball out, but Commander Doji have already kind of split the field exactly as they wanted to. The cart not moving anymore. It has been peeled, and both ends now going to be off this battle. It's going to be the res, though, coming in from Calyx, looking to get their Zens back in the fight. That damage amplification so strong, and Ruby's headshots so good.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be capped basically just off of Ruby. I think the backline for Commander Doji so far in this series has been better. Because I mean, Ruby versus Pink, I mean, you see a 9% ult charge defense, that's not too much right now, but just kill potential. Ruby's been getting so many more kills, and just kind of being the more prolific, the more aggressive, more, I guess, getting more offensive value on the Zenyatta.
Duplicate is up for Skater Boy. See if they decide to invest it into this fight. That cart still has a little bit of a ways to go before you feel too comfortable. Calyx trying to keep everybody alive, but Captain Rex ultimately does fall out of mech. Captain Rex going to eventually be receiving that healing, keeping themselves alive, but a nice grappling hook move onto Astronex, going to be knocking them off the map. Echo going to be brought back into the fight, but it looks like Pink didn't want to be the only Zenyatta not being commented about. Does take down that baby Diva with no opportunity for res. And Commander Doji going to be backing out into these tunnels, just giving themselves a moment, trying to see what they can find.
I mean, we're going to look to set up this postpone here. Just finds nothing really, just finds a Diva in their face. I think they assumed that's where the entire Barraclough backline was. Nope, they were on a little bit more underground, and this is now going to be a little bit more difficult for Commander Doji to progress in because they've lost their Mercy and neither.
Zira able to place that pulse bomb just perfectly, but it's going to be another support loss for Claw as well, and the Transcendence gets invested. Calyx bringing Ruby back into the fight, but looks like it may have been a bit too late. The damage too well done. That Echo, because the Mercy's rezzing, not able to get healed up. Commander Cody now just trying to play some lines of sight. That Ashe looking to try to stall out card as long as possible. It's going to be a Transcendence coming in deep from Ruby. Not sure it was necessary, but it is going to be reinforcing the rest of that team.
Yeah, so now we're kind of seeing Barraclough struggle to get back onto the field. Both teams are kind of relying on their Tracer players to make the plays right now. Graham's got a nice little rally going. That's a little bit more sustainability for Barraclough. So Commander Doji are going to back up, kind of wait for like an ultimate, I guess, maybe Skater Boy's duplicate to engage with, but they've got to make sure that the Commander themselves stays alive. Very low health goes down.
That is unfortunate.
Maybe Resible though. Maybe res, yeah, definitely Resible. Calyx is going to get that res. Kind of go back far enough to where Calyx can secure that res.
Yeah, Captain Rex, I'm sure, helping them out a little bit with that Diva Matrix as well, but I don't want to see a repeat play, Commander. I don't want to see you go down this early. Maximus gets taken down. Calyx popping that Valk as well, but Haven with a nice pluck onto Maimone. That's going to be the follow-up onto the Echo. Ruby, some Omnicom Omnic violence, so this time around taking down the Bob coming through. And Bearclaw, they have a quicker respawn. They have the opportunity to really draw out these fights, especially if they can get this D-Mech, although the supports are trying to keep Captain up.
Yep, they're a nice little D-Mech at the end of the team fight. Big Zera fan. And again, I think it's going to this next team fight. Look at the Tracers, both have pulse bomb. I mean, Skater Boy is going to be pretty good in the neutral here. Right, once we get a little bit more aggressive, once we get into this next team fight, that duplicate will be extremely impactful. I think it'll probably go on to the Diva. That's really get too self-destruct out of that. That's a nice little stick from Will.
Yeah, Graham going to be carrying that away, and Skater Boy once again dropping this Echo. Doesn't really seem like it's going to be too effective against Haven on this Ashe, because I gotta be honest, they've been looking like a crack shot this entire time. Skater Boy will be coming back into the field. Do they use that duplicate, or do they wait it out so far? Doesn't seem like it's going to be invested, but the attackers do take down Haven, so Skater Boy has a little bit more freedom to move around without having to go into the duplicate form. The question is, do they have the rest of their team there to reinforce them? It's going to be the Tracer coming out from Skater Boy, so not that high health characters we would expect to see most of the time. instead going to be diving in, trying to go for the pulse bomb. Goes in, a lot of the Diva Matrix being committed, and Skater Boy buying a lot of space for their team, just trying to be that distraction. Ruby coming in with the Transcendence, has to be very careful, but will ensure that their team can get that second point, as well as Diva looking very close to getting D-Max.
Yeah, I mean, Ruby's gonna go down. It's not gonna matter too much. We've already secured the point B. We've already secured the better respawns. I mean, Zara might just get a fun kill. No, won't get the fun kill on the Skater Boy. Going to point C, 2.5 minutes. It's kind of what you're expecting in your average Route 66 game. Both these teams very tightly contested. What are we kind of looking for right now? Again, I do want to go towards the Tracer battle. Look at them both at the pulse bomb up again. But I also want to highlight two things. The Divas, right? We saw Captain Rex at the end. Boost on with a clutch play in the end. Maximus is not going over to the Diva from the Sigma from point A. We'll be on the Diva a little while now, but I want to start seeing who's going to get their backline into better positions out of these Divas. Who's going to be the more proactive player? Is it Captain Rex or is it going to be Maximus?
Captain Rex is a little bit distracted right now. They have a Bob that they currently have to deal with, putting out a couple of fires. It's going to be the Diva, however, from Bearclaw, who gets a demect, has that armor to keep them alive, gives them, I believe it's like a 40% health pool increase when you calculate the numbers. And right now, Bearclaw managing to have this first hold go all their way. Calyx, we're going to be seeing swap over to that break to match a little bit of that close quarters engagement.
But they used the rally, and Maximus was done their job. They'd already got the backline into a team fight where they're able to use a more aggressive rally and have more oppressive disco orbs, where you're going to have your Zenyatta in a more aggressive position, which means more impactful disco orbs on the same time to maybe backline of Commander Doji. Maximus had already done their job. Oh my god, Zara just one clip! Skater Boy out of dude.
That was a rapid, I guess, unduping. I don't know what the unmasking, I'll say. But either way, now Commander Doge is going to be looking to lean in. Ruby with that Transcendence, going to be trying to buy some spots for their team, some space for their team. Commander Cody has those mines. Where do they decide to use them? Astronex going to be placing it into the nice midline of the side of Commander Doji, and nobody really able to move around. Zera seems to have their next targets locked in sight. Those supports are in that tiny room. Has the pulse bomb. Probably not going to go for it, just close the gap, and Maimone will go for the pulse bomb, gets double, and now no healing available for the side of Bearclaw, no healing for Doji as well. And Doji probably just has to regroup here, and they have one fight left.
I think they're going to go for it though. Skater Boy's already on the zone. Came into this next team. I got a kill. Got a hack on the Maximus. Will die. Can't get the rematch because they were hacked. And now Commander Doji had a pretty good shot if they can kill Zera, which they do.
This is fantastic. That cart continues to move, building up progress for Doji. Even if they don't get it to third, which is looking like a possibility here, they can still have a strong showing on third point. Bob is going to go out, but so will Mines. Going to be splitting the field, making it harder for that defensive line to play in the back end. Skater Boy has to use that translocator to get away. That means there's one less member actively on the field for Commander Doji. No tanks either, meaning that the space is going to be very limited. Maximus doing an excellent job at cleaning up any of those weaker targets, making to be eventually taking down Maimone. Rally comes out, but it's a moment too late. Calyx not able to enforce their team on points.
Yep, going to be a hold at the end of point C over at 66. This game is really close. We've seen some really close action on all three control points. It was a pretty standard round of Route 66, really. No one really dominating. Everyone's kind of doing their job pretty well. The Tracers have been absolutely immaculate. The backlines, yeah, you could say they've been dying a little bit more, but both backlines have, because of how well Zara and Astronics have played together, how well Will and Doge have played together, right? That's just a fact. So the backlines have done pretty well so far to get maximum offensive value. Like, I would guarantee about 60% of the kills in the kill feed in this game have had Discord orbs, because of the Divas getting the backlines into the fights, and of course the main supports as well, setting the tempo. I haven't really talked about the main support matchup here, because I think both of them are playing pretty well. I think both of them are kind of setting tempo in team fights that they need to go and win, and that's pretty respectable. It's been good for them both so far. But for example, right? I mean, yes, Ruby, Pink, they've went down a lot, but look how much offensive value they're getting with their Discord orbs. I think it's just a really good game of Overwatch. That's all I'm going to say. I'm a big fan of both of these teams and how they're playing right now.
I know whenever you say that's all I'm going to say, it's a little bit of a lie, Hiroshi. I know you got tons more on the minds, but perhaps for brevity's sake, this is all we can get into right now. These compositions going to be coming out, and Bearclaw Zero on the Widowmaker would not be surprised if it's just for an early opportunity to pluck some heads, try to see what they can find. Missed the grapple though, so it looks like they're going to back out. Yeah, just go for a quick swap. Back onto the Tracer, would not be surprised. There we go, going to be coming out quick as a whip, quick as you like. And Bearclaw also going to be swapping up their tank line as well. It's going to be the Sigma now coming out from Maximus. No big surprise there as well. We've been seeing Maximus on a lot of this time. And slowly taking this card around the corner to just try to get some progress. And we're going to have to start protecting big girls at some point.
Yeah, this is getting a little bit messy. Shonix getting into the back, we're not able to find the support line just yet. Zara is kind of looking for the same thing, and both kind of the front lines of these rosters are kind of stuck in a little duel right now. Zara would much rather be on the back lines of each other's teams, but instead they're just kind of looking at each other and unable to do anything, and Bearclaw are going to back off. Any time that the Tracers are kind of dueling each other in the front line from the offense isn't able to get any value, that's always benefiting the defense. So how are the offense are going to get into the team fight if they can't engage, right? They're engaged in some weird frontline war instead of engaging on the back point. That's just wasting time. And the defense, obviously, that's always going to favor them.
Skater Boy throwing in some dynamite, trying to get some ult charge towards that Bob. Again, Bob, a great contest tool, a great tool to force a lot of different looks, a lot of different directions for your opponents to focus on. Right now, still, Commander Doji holding Big Earls quite firmly. They're going to have to start contesting Cart at a certain point, however, and the longer they wait, the more time Bearclaw has to get in there. Ruby once again starting things off excellently, and Astro barely able to get away. Receives a lot of CCs. Kellex ensuring that the team can stay healed, and it's like somebody got put into the fight a little bit earlier than they wanted to.
Yep, a pretty standard team fight. This is a good defense so far from Commander Doji. Will in particular, when they need to keep the enemy Tracer, in check, they're doing that. When they need to get onto the back line, they need to start securing kills, check. Really good Tracer play from Will in particular. Kind of taking the lead in the Tracer matchup here just because of this round so far. Route 66, of course, 2 minutes left for Bearclaw to set up this offense, but that time's slowly draining, and look at Commander Doji's ult charge. They can definitely rotate these ult points pretty well. They'll play all 6 within this next team point, but as for Bearclaw probably as well. Just back to the misses, Gravitic plus is kind of what we're waiting on right now.
Gonna be dual transcendences coming out. Pink, Ruby, both having the same idea. Pulse Bomb goes out though, manages to grab Kellex Me at the other support ultimate, that rally that was available. Not gonna be in effect. Captain Rex gonna be dropping Maximus to the ground, taking them out. Graham as well falling. So a lot of ultimates committed from both sides, and it's only one member apiece who were able to hold on to theirs.
I mean, in fairness, Bearclaw, they'll also have a Gravitic clutch this team fight. We were kind of waiting on Maximus to charge that up. They'll also have a pick going into the next fight and a rally. And it's going to be interesting because those two rallies are going to clash. Who's going to get more value onto them? You'd imagine Bearclaw based on the fact that they have the Flux, and I guess the Bulb as well, but the Flux is the one I really want to highlight. It's really on the main supports now. We haven't highlighted them too much so far in Kellex and Graham, but both have the rally. Those are the clashing ultimates here. Those are the clashing players for this team fight. Let's see what value they can get.
Commander Doji still holding firm on to high with Maimone. Now taken down Haven. Gonna have a little bit more freedom to run around, get some shots, and Zero as well gonna be taken down. So that rally not gonna be affecting all the members of Bearclaw just yet. In fact, those tanks don't seem to be receiving too much armor from it in general. Commander Doji able to hold on for the moment, and a nice headshot onto Haven. Bearclaw probably gonna be on the backstep.
Only 22 seconds classified territory for Bearclaw. They want to save this series. Already 1-0 down from the control map. Zara doing her absolute best to keep the minute. Ashrog's gets a kill as well. And this should be points on the back of Zara.
An excellent performance, and we're going to be seeing Commander dropping some mines, trying to buy some space onto the point, but it's not going to be buying too much as that first is achieved. And now 2.5 minutes is what the side of Bearclaw has to work with.
Okay, Haven's going to go back over to the Ash. We're going to see Ash versus Ash, Tracer versus Tracer. It's complete mirrored compositions from both sides. Card takes a little bit of a time to get moving here on point B. It's going to be interesting, right? Again, both Tracers have their pulse bomb. We'll see what offensive value they can get here. Pink goes to the Transcendence as well as Ruby, so they want to kind of get in there a little bit more aggressively right now. They want to stop those Zenyatas getting those Transcendences online.
And now, for the side of Bearclaw, that Zenyatta going to be looking a little bit more vulnerable. The glass cannon not able to operate if that Brig is not there to back their Zen up. Although Zero still able to deal a lot of damage. Pink going to be popping the Transcendence, trying to keep everybody alive successfully. We might add as well to Bob just for a momentary stall. Skater Boy going to be committing to this Ash. However, no surprise there. These high grounds strongly played from the lever action or rifle that can come through there. Astronauts eventually going to be taken down, and Commander, despite this fight not necessarily going their way, they're not giving up too much space.
Yeah, I mean, the card still moved quite a bit. Yes, Sarah kind of won a team point for Bear Club, but how much value did they get out of that team point? Not too much, because Commander Doji are right back into it. And yeah, they're playing quite well now. Kellex got an environmental kill there, and they should hold firmly for now, although Ryan causing a bit of mischief.
Oh, but Skater Boy has the burn on everybody, getting 2 kills with that dynamite. We're down to a minute left, Ocean.
Yeah, just a minute, right? Look at the ultimate bank for Bear Club. Nothing. I mean, maybe the DPS ultimates, but like coming into 06 for Commander Doji, this is a tough task for Bear Claw. Shronix already low as well, so you're gonna have to wait on that primary engagement tool. I mean, if they have a pulse bomb, I mean, maybe Zara can come up with some magic.
Oh, it's gonna be difficult because now there's gonna be that damage difference without the Zen to apply that Discord Orb as well. Graham not there, so no healing available for Bear Claw. 20 seconds left for this last fight, and Zero really does not want to get staggered out here, although they'll be able to get back fast.
Zera's already killed 2. This next team fight could be a little bit easier on the back of Zera. Haven will have a bulb to kind of put in the team fight and test the point for a bit. Zera might have been able to steal Bear Claw, but maybe no.
Haven loses their life, and because of that, Bob not able to be rushing onto the battlefield. Overtime going to be taking down more and more. This D.Va has to play very carefully. Maximus getting chased down. Gonna be the Gravitic Flux coming through, doesn't catch anything. Did catch the Wrecking Ball as a matter of fact, so Astronac's gonna be taken down. Bob's now gonna be coming both out onto the field, but the Wrecking Ball able to just sweep the Bob off point, meaning that somebody from the side of Bear Class to contest who is not able to, and because of that, Commander Doge taking it 2-0 over Bear Claw.
Congrats, Commander Doge. Good team. I mean, good experienced players playing extremely well there. And finally, so often, I'm going to highlight the main squads because I felt Kellex really showed their class on that defensive round. When we saw those rallies collide or the pizzas have an opportunity to kind of dictate the tempo, we saw Kellex's rallies very disciplined, right? They're on the high ground, they're making sure there's Zenyatta's kind of, ready to go. You saw where Graham was using rallies, it's getting everyone aggressive and trying to force a brawl, right? When realistically, you could either try to get your Zenyatta up to the high ground, get some better Discord Orbs, and then force a brawl. Rallies are a long ultimate. I would have liked to see Graham use those a little bit better, and I thought Kellex in that round decided the pace of the match better and also just had the better ultimate. So well done, Kellex, well played, and you would expect that with a player of Kellex's caliber.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt. Not too much disappointment, I think, coming in watching Bear Claw's performance here today. I mean, of course, like I said before at the beginning of this broadcast, they are not out just yet. They are merely bumped down into the losers bracket, so they'll have an opportunity for redemption. They'll be clinging to life as Commander Doji gets to kind of just chill out in the higher bracket. I say chill out, but still some very intense games to come ahead for them.
Yeah, I mean, just they don't have to play with the fact if they lose, they're out of the tournament, right? It's 2.5k on the line here, right? You wanna put your best foot forward, and also, people are gonna look back at this tournament. One of the last tournaments before the Overwatch 1 life cycle is pretty much over because we're gonna get the beta on the 26th. A lot of people will be playing that instead. And, very impressive, actually, in my personal opinion, that these teams are coming here. They're here to kind of show what they got in Overwatch 1. There's a little bit more on the line than you would think.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all about that momentum. We talk about the momentum of, teams within tournaments kind of getting that speed, that way to carry them through. I can only imagine how powerful it is if you come into an entirely fresh game with some momentum. I mean, like saying we were the champions of Overwatch 1, let's take it into Overwatch 2, maintain that and keep it status quo as long as we can. However, folks, we are going to be taking a quick break. We will be back with our next game, so make sure you stick around. Last Ride Invitational after this.
The Last Ride tournament was organized in an incredibly short time frame. With the team working around the clock to bring you this broadcast, we thought it was only fitting to show the team in behind-the-scenes action.
So we're going to have 12-hour days, randomized bracket seeding, and did you gamers get the proposal that I sent, about Justice for Infected, for dice? They're going to have to roll a dice to see what server they get.
Sounds good to me. I don't really care, to be honest. But for the stream, I did want to ask Chase, what the are you doing?
Why the is this kid here again?
You're the one who asked for his help, so...
Yeah, because he has the coin and the money, and I probably shouldn't have asked Catnap.
I mean, we have a literal chai working on this now, so
Yeah, and he doesn't know how to eat ramen. He works at a ramen company and can't use chopsticks.
not to mention his stupid obsession with rats.
And he can't clean his room. Look at that shit.
I mean, he's too busy to clean, remember? He works in Overwatch League. Oh, wait,
Maybe
no.
instead of all that time on socials, he could have spent it touching grass.
No feelings were hurt in the making of this video, except for Chase's. He's actually really, really hurt.
And we are back here with another interview presented by Map 5 Podcast. I am joined by Ara Mori. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. Why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Hi, thank you. My name is Ara Mori, as previously mentioned. I am a flex support player. I am currently playing for the Mochis, the Mochi Gang. I've been playing Overwatch since open beta, and I am a coach as well as a player, and yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Well, get into it. So you've been playing it since beta, like I have. So you've spent 6 years playing this game plus. Tell me what's your favorite memory from the past 6 years? What stands out the most?
Like a competitive sense, my favorite memory is like winning open division and going into like contenders trials and stuff like that. So that was really fun. Yeah.
And that was with Hour Zero, is that correct?
Yeah. It was a while ago now, but yeah, definitely was a really fun moment. That whole team is like complete jokesters, so they were just like laughing and cracking jokes. So it's such a good memory in my head. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, and there's nothing like that feeling of victory, especially in a big event like that.
No, it was really cool.
Well, speaking of events, let's talk about community events a little bit. Tell me, what do you think is your favorite of the community events that we've had over the past course of Overwatch 1?
So I don't know if this really counts, but the Sigma Rock Challenge, whenever that was going on, that was so freaking funny. And I remember too, like I was streaming and at the time, and I was like, I'm doing it. And I was like, I'm not ending stream until I do it. And so I went and I like personally, I think I did like an hour and a half of just like sitting there trying to get this jump. And then I finally did it. And it was so, I just loved that. That whole event was, I think, like one of the more rare times where the community's all kind of been doing one thing collectively. So that was really, really cool. And then as for like actual official events, the Overwatch Empowerment Cup was amazing to take part in and also, help cultivate as well. So, yeah.
Two very different events with two very different fields and purposes. And,
yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so looking back, let's talk about lessons learned here. What do you think what's the biggest lesson learned over the past 6 years? I mean, from a community standpoint, that we can take into the new game to help improve and keep driving things forward like you're talking about?
So I definitely think something that the community has been learning or is like on the right track to learning is like trying to treat everyone with kindness. I've definitely seen like with the more recent events like OWEC and like I think the last Ride tournament as well is just coming out of like people wanting to do right by the community and wanting to do things to be kind and to be good. So I think that's something that I hope we as a community take with us into Overwatch 2. It kind of feels like we're on like a turning point of being a better community, if that makes sense.
Well, final question. So that just drives us forward into Overwatch 2. We got new things on the horizon, a lot of change, set before us. What is something that you're most excited about that the new game could bring? I mean, be it a new influx of players, new metas. What's got you hyped up to go into Overwatch 2?
I'm definitely sorry. I'm definitely super excited to see a bunch of like the old faces, like the old streamers, hopefully come back. Like that'll be so much fun, and I know how like hype that'll get the community too. So that's one thing I'm really, really looking forward to is like I guess like the hype or like the people returning, right? But then I'm also excited for the new generation of like Overwatch players who are going to come from Overwatch 2, like kind of like as like a byproduct. I kind of feel like tier 2, tier 3, we're getting kind of old at this point because the game is getting so old. But hopefully with Overwatch 2, we'll have a lot of like new younger players, and that'll be so cool to like kind of see the legacy continue of Overwatch. So that's something I'm super excited about.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to come join us. We're going to get back into the action. More Last Ride Tournament coming at you shortly. We'll see you in a moment.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to the third round here in the Last Ride Invitational. Sir Waltham Ocean still here. Hope you're still not tired of us, and we have some more great games coming ahead. Dice versus Team Peps now, Ocean, and these are some very interesting teams to watch.
Yeah, so this is Dice, an NA contenders team for the past couple of months. How long has Dice been around? 6-7 months? Well, that's what I'm going to go with, all right? And Team Peps, which is a bunch of EU talent, particularly from France. You're going to see Ben Best on this roster, for example, and FD got some of your favorite names that you might have seen in the Overwatch League previously. This team is going to be coached by Get Amaze as well, so there should be, theoretically, a well-organized unit against Dice, who's been, they've had some good performances in contenders. They've had some bad performances in contenders. They kind of want this last ride invitational to kind of stamp their approval and say, look, we can go and get results. That's kind of what we need to see out of Dice, at least a little bit more consistently.
Absolutely. As you said, Dice a little bit on that inconsistent level when it comes to their long-term performance, when it comes to their career, I would say, as to what they've been able to achieve. But still, at least for myself, some familiar names on Dice, particularly Love Infected, huge fan. Going to be keeping eyes out for that player in particular.
I think what I really like about Dice is their support line. I think it's just a very talented support line. Aspen can play like pretty much any main support when asked, at least consistently, and Mozur is kind of like a heavy frogger. I think that support line's a pretty good pairing in terms of the talent on it in particular. And of course, Infected, right? Is a young player, right? A young main tank player who, is always going to be interesting to watch these younger players as they develop, as they improve, as they learn more things about them, not only themselves in game, but themselves in general, and skills that they can take into their actual life.
It's kind of the path of growth that I know you and myself both like seeing, as you mentioned, within those younger players, or, within any Overwatch player or any video game player in general who's able to kind of go through those major life moments. But overall, folks, speaking of major moments, we do have the first major map that we're going to be seeing here. It's going to be Nepal for our control, and not the first time we've been seeing it today, Ocean.
Yep, we're going to see Nepal here. I believe that was selected by Dice Gaming, as far as I'm aware. What's really interesting, kind of like a semi-narrative that I've just came up with, is in fact it's like a young player, who's only room to grow. Whereas Team Peps, think about some of their players, FD got Ben Best, Suna, they've all been in the Overwatch League before. They're here to prove that they can do it again. They can make it at the best level again. They're here to prove that. Whereas it's different for a player like Infected, who is here to prove that they can compete against these players and earn that opportunity. So it's like a different way of trying to prove yourself, right?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? It feels kind of like the old guard versus the young bloods coming to fruition here, at least for some dynamics of these teams. Certainly not all of them in every instance, but either way, we're going to be seeing exactly how that mentality plays into effect as we go towards Nepal. And so far, we can see the teams starting to form their rosters.
Yep, it looks like we're going to see like a brawl from Team Peps. That's not surprising to me. You want to have FD God on that signature Lucille as much as you can. You want to have Ben Best. I think I would assume that Ben Best Reinhardt is kind of what people in the public kind of assume Ben Best's best hero is. That's what I would associate with Ben Best. So they're probably going to look to play a lot of Brawl in particular. DICE are looking to combat that flaw, right? They've got a lot of spam damage. Again, I kind of like the Wrecking Ball matchup versus Reinhardt. I think they favors the Wrecking Ball a lot. That's very aggressive from Frosted.
Yeah, and overall, DICE, it seems like they knew exactly kind of how Team Peps wanted to run that, and they had an answer for it, immediately applying a lot of damage. In fact, already a quarter of the way towards their minds. That Reinhardt, a large purple nade going across the field, as a matter of fact. Not quite able to be capitalized on by DICE, but with this Reinhardt sleeping, that means no shield to prevent the damage coming in from Boat, but Boat can't quite make the connections. Logic's going to be taking them down on this Sim, and the Sim plunge right in onto point's going to be so difficult. The nice teleporter to try to close the gap onto Moser, and it will eventually result in the kill.
Nice little kill from Logic. Nice little chase as well.
Yeah.
You kind of felt that Peps were under the cosh a bit when Frosted got a little bit aggressive. You saw lots of members run low, and then also that incident, right, where we saw the big purple. You would have thought that DICE would be able to capitalize on that. They weren't able to. And look, FT Gods just fragged on under both Elva and Aspen, and that's going to set DICE back a little bit more. Peps going to rotate up to that high ground. They're going to look to hold those choke areas, and Elva is going over to the far. I mean, Peps doesn't really have much to deal with that. I mean, maybe Zeri can hit some shots, or Peps going to have to play a little bit faster. And Alex is going to have a really important job because it's kind of nullifying the far as much as they can.
Elva continuing to rein in shots. Has to be careful, though. The longer they take to set up this fight, the longer that Team Peps will be able to build up that percentage charge. Moser very close, in fact, having the nano boost. So let's see who they're going to be dropping it on.
Get in there.
It's going to be the Pharah. It looks like they really want to enable Elva, but Elva has to take a dip outside, and another huge anti-nade coming in, this time landing on the 4 for Team Peps, but it doesn't seem like DICE have the characters that really enable the follow-up too well. It's going to be the proton barrier coming through as well, meaning that Pharah has to choose which side of the wall to play on and either gently drift to the other if Peps rotates, but so far, Peps are content to play this as slow as DICE will enforce their own push.
I mean, Peps got onto the backline of Motor there, and in fact, he tried to catch them on. Was able to do so and get serious. Both backs quick time for both of these teams.
We're not quite done yet. DICE coming back with a couple of kills. Aspen throwing in the Valkyrie. Elva able to get 2 kills, and now the point slowly starting to flip towards DICE. The Diva, however, going to be able to stall out towards that 99 eventually. Elva going to be the one getting the final kill, but don't step off point. There you go. Let's get the full.
That was close.
Yeah,
that was always like a grave mistake there. But I like the Valkyrie investment because that point was getting a little rather dicey as per
Oh, come on.
apologies,
guys.
I had to, and that's why Elva was able to get the extra value there with the far at the end of that team fight because of the Valkyrie. No, look at this. It's kind of a neutral playing field. They're going with Moira from Zerian to try and play a little bit more direct, a little bit more aggressive, to try and nullify the damage of the Pharah.
Nice pile driver trying to come in from Infected, but Infected getting frozen out. There's just too much CC to have to deal with from Team Peps, and now they have that Sim that can go in, try to deal up that damage. The Logic's going to be looking forward. Ben Best going in with the Earth Shatter, warding everybody off of point. DICE only going to be getting 33%, blocked off by the wall. Nobody can touch, even though Aspen tries, she might.
Justice.
Yep, that's a good run for Team Peps. And we're seeing these I guess these teams based on a Europe with the Brawl competitions. They're playing very direct, and these NA teams, you know, they've been scrubbing these Wrecking Ball competitions, which I think are the stronger competitions. I think that they match up in the Brawl quite well. But these European teams are being very direct with Brawl. We've seen it with Commander Doji taking on Barraclaw in the previous matchup we saw on Mecha Base. They're kind of a repeat there. Peps were really direct at getting onto the backline when they needed to be. They were good at nullifying the spam damage that DICE were doing. I think what DICE could do to make that compositional matchup even better is just have better timing, right?
Yeah.
Is when Elva's taking a different angle, have both on a completely different angle, like maybe behind Team Peps even. But we're not going to see that matchup here on Sanctum, so we'll talk about that maybe at the break as we see Peps take a similar look towards the composition that DICE is running.
A similar look, in fact, going to be the exact same look. It's going to be the similar composition, the same composition. I just corrected myself too. And right now, Peps getting forced back a little bit. It's going to be Suyo taken down early on. That Hanzo, that long-range threat, not going to be there. So Logix is really going to have to try to get the damage in. But Zerion getting hit by the pile driver, and DICE able to start off on an early cap, and as well looks like a pretty early fight win.
This could be interesting. We see like similar traits, like again to the Bear Claw series with Commander Dojo. We're gonna see Tracer versus Tracer matchups happen, or are we gonna see the Tracers play a little bit more direct with the backline? Right, that's gonna be extremely interesting. Speaking of backlines, I want to talk about Mozart and Aspen backline we highlighted at the start of this series. 54-53% of their ultimates. FD God and Zirian a little less, so they're kind of doubling the ult charge of their opponents right now. So that's a good note that the Dice backline is as good as we think.
Logix has to be very careful. Here's that storm arrow come out. Does not want to get clipped by boat. Sends onto a sinking ship, but Mo's are going to be following up. I think that was a body shot and then immediate orbs from the Zenyatta. Benbest stuck in a rough spot, can't barrel their way out. The Zenyatta getting a second kill onto their mantle, and Elva allowed to really lean in here. Knows better than to dip into that break immediately, waits for a second, and then the rest of the team of Dice come rushing in with them.
Yeah, no, it worked out well. I thought that Mozart played that team fight really well, but getting 2 eliminations. And yeah, we nicely did put ultimates online. We're going to see all ultimates online for Dice. It's going to be about how they use them. This is going to be a rather messy team fight, looking at the ultimate economy for both of these teams. Who's going to kind of match out these individual ultimate wars? I mean, Sergio's going to take out both instantly.
Oh, Infected going in with a big mine as I believe the Gravitic Flux tries to come in from Alex. The point will flip, but Dice should have no problem reclaiming it.
5 kills for Infected so far. Go and get the 6th, my son. Go on. Go and get the 6th. He's chasing it. He's going for it. Oh, boring. Come on, Infected. You're better than that. Only a 5k. Come on.
And we highlighted you at the beginning of this. It's going to be the Gravitic Flux coming in now from Frosted. That Transcendence has to come in a little bit late, navigating through the interior walls just to try to get everybody healed up. Pulse Bomb from Logix might try to latch onto its latest target. Can't quite make it connect though, rather isn't in the range to get anybody with it. The DPS from Team Peps are looking to really crank things up, and not a moment too soon as Dice are at that 99, but Team Peps stops them there for the moment.
Yeah, so good team fight for Team Peps. Aspen kind of struggling to get back to that high ground with the rest of her team there, but that's okay. They played a good map so far. Going into this next team fight, what are we kind of looking at? Well, we have a support ultimate online for either team. We're going to have a pulse bomb online for either team. No real differences. I mean, Effecto Minefield, the last one was absolutely amazing. Here comes the early rally from FD God. How will Mozart respond? An early Transcendence.
Early Transcendence to try to catch that ball out. Elva has their Pulse Bomb eaten by the Kinetic Grasp. In fact, they continue to try to jostle this team around, make them play a little bit uncomfortably, and for their attempts, they were rewarded with both supports. Now it's going to be pressure applied directly onto point, and if you're the side of Team Peps, you'd really rather not give that up. It will eventually flip me, and you're not going to build any more progress. If Benbest is taken down, but you're not even going to have anybody to touch. You might not have anybody to touch at all as Dice get 148.
Yeah. Really interesting because we saw Dice had like a compositional advantage with the Wrecking Ball compositions versus the Reinhardt compositions, but it was on a more linear map, kind of like Maccabeus in the previous series. And the reason I'm bringing this into attention is one thing that's been really interesting in Tier 2, Tier 3 Overwatch for the longest time, the entirety of Overwatch 1 cycle, has been the regional differences, right? Mm-hmm. So like the European teams in this tournament have been really good on the more linear map types, like Maccabeus on Busan and Village on Nepal. This Shrine Point is also a mix of both, which is why I'm bringing it up. But on linear map types where the European teams are able to play Brawl, they're matching these NA teams. When NA teams are able to play these more expansive compositions where you've got the Zen break backline, it's kind of going in favor of those NA teams most of the time, right? Although we did see Commander Doji start to get the bearing of that and actually winning with that composition in the mirror matchup later on in that series. So that was really interesting. I think we're going to continue to see more of that. NA as a region has been more progressive recently in terms of playing these more open die-filled compositions with heroes like Wrecking Ball and Winston. Here seeing even more playtime in North America this in the previous year than they had previously, which is really interesting.
So, and we're actually seeing some swaps wholesale come out from Dice. Instead, they want to take it to the sky, play outside of the swing of the Rhine, outside of the reliability of the Cassidy fall off, the May tracking to come through, and it's going to be working for them so far. They get the D-Mech, force out that Immortality field, and so far, Dice have not been pressured too aggressively. Sure, Infected is going to be taking a bit of damage. Aspen eventually falls, but That all seems par for the course based on this composition. Elba as well going to be looking to dive into those hit scan characters. The Cassidy, the Baptiste doesn't quite find it though. And I thought DICE had a real opportunity there, but they eventually got a little bit too hungry.
Yeah, no, DICE's kind of stance on this map is going to be, can we attack from different angles at the same time? Their timing needs to be good. Otherwise, perhaps the way they've been playing this ball so consistently, they've been able to find targets to be extremely direct, but they've also been able to nullify Elba at times when they needed to. The question is, can you nullify this barrage that's incoming?
Well, if you keep that immortality field in your pocket, you'll be able to hopefully mitigate it for a moment, or at least prevent the deaths from coming through. As well, you have Alex on that D.Va, keeping eyes out, hopefully for the Matrix to come up. Self-destruct goes out, does catch Logic, so that relieves a little bit of pressure off Elba. They see the immortality field as well. Going to be dropping the rocket barrage. Caught dangerously low. It's going to be the Ash boat leading up. Alex Blizzard goes out as well, but not going to be infected, caught off on the wrecking ball. Bob, in fact, brought into the fight late enough to not be frozen out in entirety himself. Eventually going to have to be taking a leave, though, and it looks like now DICE have a good opportunity to get some point progress.
Good team fight for DICE. I mean, it's a barrage. They're kind of original engagement. Didn't really go to plan, but they're also going to adapt over the course of the fight and able to get their, once their backline was kind of cemented in that team fight, it looks really, really good. That's something I think DICE should prioritize a little bit more often. Frosted's a little bit more of an aggressive off-tank player, which is fine, but Frosted needs to be able to go more aggressive once these supports are in the fight. Because Moats are in a more aggressive angle, Aston playing with their a little bit more comfortably within the team is going to be an even bigger threat. Because those players, those two players on DICE, the backline, are probably their two best players. They need to get them more involved.
Logic's creeping around, just keeping eyes peeled, see where they may be able to find those vulnerabilities. Moser, Aspen might both be looking like juicy targets if Logic's able to close that gap and find them out. A nice hack onto the Mercy as well. Transcendence coming in. Suya goes immediately, reveals themselves, but the Transcendence coming in from Moser just trying to save themselves and the point, or their team, I should say. It's going to be, in fact, continuing to barrel around. Still has mines to buy a bit of time, but can't use it if they're hacked. Aspen bringing out the Valk, but can't save Moser. It's going to be the sound barrier now coming out from Team Peps. Both DPS gone, though, as is Boat. Elba has Rocket Barrage. Will they decide to drop it into this fight? It looks like they're trying to get onto that Winston. That D.Va eventually going after Elba. Not quite able to locate. The tanks for the side of Team Peps look a little bit caught out. They continue to try to go onto this Pharah, but doesn't seem like they can find too much or mitigate too much of that damage.
Oh, wow, this team fight's getting really scrappy. Aspen's the one keeping it alive for DICE right now. A nice resurrect on the Motor early on, and a nice saving of the life of Elba, who's going to have that barrage now online.
Elba able to get the D-Mech with a little bit of help from Frost and continues to apply that damage into the main choke. Logic's trying to find that Ash, but has to keep pretty nimble. Is, however, able to sink a little bit of damage outwards, forcing the Ash to take a back step. Ben Best going to be popping the Primal Rage, trying to also clear out this Ash, and not even able to do it. The tenacity of Boat in this situation, and the help from their team, admittedly, gives them a literal second's life. Moser has that Transcendence. This is looking very close to last fight territory, but Moser gets taken down, meaning it's not going to be able to keep their team up with that massive burst healing. Aspen's not close to the sound barrier. EMP goes out, but now that means Moser's going to be able to hop in with that Transcendence for free if this fight goes out to the distance. Self-destruct now coming in from Frosted. Moser leaning in with the Transcendence in due time. Infected not able to receive it, however, gets cleaned up and a lot of damage trying to come in. Elba not going to be lasting. Moser Infected all not going to be lasting. The hack coming out. And with this team, Peps looks like they have it all but one. That will be it for them.
Wow, what a brilliant map of Overwatch. And probably decided on the back of one kill from Logic's gets Moser, who had the Transcendence. And I don't understand why Moser didn't use the Transcendence, because we knew that the EMP was online from CEO, and I think DICE knew as well. So that's got to be some excellent, ultimate tracking from DICE to know that EMP is going to be online. So Moser was trying to keep it. Unfortunately, couldn't use the Transcendence to save themselves from Logic's in the back line. An excellent play from Logic's to either, potentially force out Transcendence for their EMP or to secure the kill like they did, and that is what led Teams Peps to map 1 victory.
Absolutely agree. And looking at that last fight, I would say that it was a close fight the entire time, but I don't know if I ever say I saw a strong chance of DICE winning it. Does that make sense? It never looked like they were significantly, or even like, to a minor degree ahead in that fight, much more than Team Peps was. And if they were, it was for a split second.
I thought DICE actually played pretty well that map. I liked the fact that they were changing their compositions well. It looked like they were all tracking well. I just think it came down to that one moment, and Mozart had the decision: do I use Trans Hero? Do I try and save it for the EMP? Back themselves to either beat Logic's out or force them away, or back their team to be able to stall enough so that Transcendence would be able to use to counteract that EMP later on. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. Just one little kill from Logic's, and that's what decided that map. I actually thought DICE were quite good. I think that's the best I've seen them look, personally, because when I look at a team, I look for their identity. I look, what do you do different to other teams? And DICE, they look to maximize value from their supports. Yes, at points they're unable to do that, but when they do get their supports maximized, they look really, really good.
Oh yeah, absolutely have to agree. And coming into this, you said that the two players you look for on DICE, Moser and Aspen, both I think obviously name brands, I would say, in their kind of role, looking very strong there. And yeah, I have to agree, DICE served very well by enabling those two players. I mean, we're seeing it a lot. If the pressure goes on to the support of DICE, suddenly the team starts to look a lot shakier.
Yeah, I also like it. I think I like it a little bit more when Aspen's on break, because then she was able to kind of get more value out of Mozart than necessarily Elva. Not because Elva's playing poorly. It's just because I like it when DICE have a more consistent backline. You know what I mean? Like, Elva was doing bits with the damage boost, was able to keep alive and get some good neutral value on heroes like Farah, for example. But I just prefer it when I'm watching DICE that the backline is getting more of the resources and the backline is kind of the center of what they're doing, because I think that's the highlight part of this roster.
Absolutely. And next map we are getting word is going to be Gibraltar. And of course, I believe that was DICE's pick. And what do you think the plan is here, Ocean, moving forward?
I'm not exactly sure. I think the idea was, okay, they like brawl. Let's try and stop them from brawling.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, Gibraltar's a very good pick. Typically being a dive map. In the past, recently you'd be seeing more Wrecking Ball here, but previously this would be a map where you'd have double bubble, potentially, or your standard base dive compositions, with like you just get Widowmaker duels on this map all the time. I mean, I'm just kind of reminiscing on Overwatch 1, right? Leave me be.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of sad it's going all right. So look, you used to see Winston on this map, and I think this is a good way to kind of try and nullify Ben Best's value on the Reinhardt, and Peps's goal of playing brawl composition isn't really going to work here.
Yeah, I mean, you said it at the beginning of, I believe it was Village on Nepal. When you talk about Ben Best, immediately your mind snaps to that Reinhardt style, that Reinhardt play, being able to swing. And you can't really do that too reliably on Gibraltar. There's just a lot of high ground, a lot of different angles that a dive team's going to so much more effectively cover. You're going to be taking a moment here, getting over to Gibraltar. And as I was saying, it's going to be looking, I think, a little bit tough for Team Peps. I do think that DICE had a very good call here.
Yeah, I think this is a good map pick. This is kind of what we're looking for. We're going to see Peps go over with the Winston composition as well. This is going to be Winston versus Winston. This is going to be interesting. Because what I've watched Zerion in the past has mostly been Zenyatta. Zerion's been a player that's kind of popped up on my radar recently. First place at the Insomnia LAN over in the UK recently. Just been playing more in general. I've been able to see the name a little bit more. I haven't really seen them play too much on it in that time though, so it's going to be interesting to see how they compare to Mozart, because a big part of Gibraltar right now is, okay, who can build up the nano fastest? Are we going to give it to our Tracer? Are we going to give it to our Winston? Who's the better player to give it to? So this is going to be interesting.
Of course, it is going to be Team DICE starting off on the attack. See, Infected and Frosted both trying to lean in, get that high ground, but immediately the follow-up coming in from Ben Best to try to cover Infected. Already getting quite a bit of damage, but not really confirming any kills, just preventing DICE from holding that high ground. So far, Nico on this cast, he's going to be able to try to lock down some members if they're allowing that card to make that first bend. And Frost is doing a great job of enforcing Ben Best back into the comfort of their own team, then going in, getting some nice healing, some nice peel onto their Brigitte. So far, no team really engaging in any kills, but DICE looking like they're having a pretty decent time pushing Team Peps back slowly.
Well, okay, so you look at Zerion's Overcharge right now for Team Peps. They've built the nano quicker than most, which is extremely impressive, and that's going to be like the main tool that Peps use on their defense to kind of counteract Dice. They're going to be a little bit more proactive here. Also, Team Peps have switched to DPS, like Nico and Suna are in the lineup for Suyo and Logic. I think something like Logic after that play towards the end of the ball.
We're going to be seeing both of the Winstons get that nano. It's not going to be the nano visor going onto Boat, but Boat's still going to be able to apply a nice amount of damage as well. Infected going to be looking to hop onto this break. Who pops the rally? I believe it's just for themselves. FD God is going to be receiving a lot of healing from Zerion and will be surviving despite that massive juggle. And Elva now creeping around, but might be running toe-to-toe with Suna in a second.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I want to see that Tracer Joe on this side. It might make things a little bit more interesting. Also, Nico at the dead only in this next team fight. It's going to use the zone a little bit. Graviton Surge as well, just used from Alex on the high ground. Just secures one kill on the boat. And now follow you to win the team fight, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times you'll hear people say like, oh, I really want to get some high value with Zarya. Sometimes just one player in a grab that you can ensure the kill on is going to be good enough. If you can get more, fantastic. Ben Best can be diving in a little bit too deep, but gets hit by a nade, allowing themselves to be healed up by Zerion. It's going to be the Deadeye trying to come in from Nico, not quite able to kill anything, but forces everybody back out of this server room, and now you see Team Peps able to play extremely comfortable here. A nice anti-nade arced up onto both. They're going to have to take a back step for a moment, and Ben Best with the nano going to be trying to apply a lot more damage, getting ever so close to that primal.
Yep, Ben Best, nice little nano boost. But look, I don't think they should invest nano. Yeah, look, I mean, Ben Best secured some kills with that, right? They wouldn't have got those kills, but look, you needed that nano boost to respond to Motu's nano boost. Like, what is the response here to Motu's nano boost on Dice? Motu's nano boost from Dice. Perhaps don't have a response. I mean, maybe a self-destruct onto the back line. Sorry, we don't even have self-destruct because it's Alex. Look, what do you even do to respond to those nano that Dice has?
Gonna be very difficult. I think you might have to just try to weather the storm, see how long you can get. Suna gonna be taking down Boat, meaning that there's not gonna be the DPS in this fight, and that was a very fast engagement. Infected is going to be getting the nano boost, but killing everybody before their teammate can help them out with the nano is gonna be a great option. Alex taken down. Infected does manage to help their team deliver that cart to that first point, so this isn't going to be a full first point ult coming in from Team Peps, but it was looking a little bit close, Ocean.
No, I think Dice were always going to go and win that team point, in my personal opinion, but they had the nano boost. The nano boost shouldn't have been used on the Infected, Ben Best in the previous team fight. Infected did well, Mozart used the nano boost well. That's all that Dice needed to do to secure that team fight well, and they did it well. No, this next team fight. What are we going to see? Like, both hit scans have ultimates. Both struggling here on the high ground. It's going to go down.
Oh, no.
Getting a little bit too aggressive with that attack visor.
It's an uncomfortable spot, needless to say, for Dice not having that attack visor, not having that consistent damage. Now it's all going to be on to Elva to try to find those weak opportunities. Frosty taking down Ben Best means that Winston is not going to be able to engage. Team Peps seeming to go dominoes right now with their opponents, losing 1-for-1. Nico with a nice flashbang from the high ground, dropping right onto the Winston.
Yeah, okay, Ultimate's pretty equal to this next team fight. Zeri and Mozart in the nano war were pretty close, which is kind of what we're expecting. I mean, both DPS ultimates going to be aligned for either side. FD God's kind of got the only ultimate that I'm really looking for that's ahead of Dice's. That's going to be the rally. So it's going to be interesting to see what FD God does with said rally. And it's also interesting to see FD God versus Aspen, right? FD God has proven main support in the Overwatch. Like, Aspen wants that sort of opportunity. She's going to have to prove that she can do it against a player like FD God in this game today.
And both throwing in the tac visor, not able to get too much with it between a lot of damage mitigation, getting forced back into some uncomfortable spots. Suna going to be pushing up onto Elva. And Nico still just holding cool onto this high ground. Infected, able to get a lot of damage cleave, but not enough to kill anything. More light pressure than anything else. And Team Pep's still holding this high ground very dominantly and making it work for him.
Yeah, good rally from FD God. Secures the team point. They're able to go a little bit more aggressive when that rally comes on. And a lot be online for the next team fight though, and Aspen will have that rally, so that's going to be interesting. I was just kind of talking about FD God versus Aspen. Now, Aspen's got to prove, okay, FD God won a team fight rally. What can I do with said ultimate? The question is, you know, how do you use this rally, especially when Alex has this Graviton Surge, and it's already so difficult to walk in here. I mean, look, everyone's going to be controlling the shuttle and these high ground areas from Pep. How does DICE deal with that?
I was just about to question vote on this Widowmaker given the impression we've seen Team Peps have on these entries, but immediately gets the headshot onto the Ana. FD God does take down Elva though, so it's just going to be onto that Widowmaker as the main damage dealer. The tank's going to have to pick up the slack as well, but vote certainly looking content to do that. Takes down Suna now, and DICE having a good opportunity. Nico going to be throwing in the Deadeye, managing to pluck both supports. Frosty now trying to lean in here. Has a lot of damage that they have to be responsible for themselves. Nico taken down despite the pulse bombs tried to come out. And right now it looks like Team Peps might be a little bit out here.
I think Peps are okay for now, but look what ultimate is online. The exact same ultimate that got DICE point A. The Mozart Nanoboost is online. The problem is Boat's already down. And Iris is probably going to go on to Infected, but how is Infected going to get Valley?
Somebody's going to have to touch, and it's... I didn't think that Tracer was going to make the touch count. Elva does manage to make it happen, though, and Boat coming in onto this Widowmaker is going to be risky because you can't apply a lot of pressure directly onto Cart. You have to be playing off of it, and right now with your members losing life after life, it's looking so much more difficult. Again, the nice anti-nade coming in from Zerion means that nobody's able to get healed, and because of that, DICE do not have a strong hanger phase.
Yeah, no, Gibraltar's one of those points. It's so difficult to get back into, especially on point B. Rialto's kind of similar, where, you know, if you kind of get held towards the end of point B, you're in a lot of trouble. Because the high ground's automatically there for the defense, right? You've got the two high grounds that are sort of chokes for DICE to walk into there. You've got the shuttle. You've got the high ground bridge beneath the shuttle that has a mini health pack. There's the mega health pack right next to one of the high grounds you're controlling anyway. It's kind of impossible to kind of attack into once you've already lost it. Of course, it isn't impossible, but it is very difficult. One player to highlight, FD God played really, really well on the Brigitte. Played really, really well. I thought that rally on point B was brilliant. It allowed them to play a little bit more aggressive, and once that rally secured that team fight, DICE really, really struggled to get into point B. There was Aspen's rally to contradict the Graviton surge, but after that, there wasn't really many opportunities for DICE to win out on point B, and DICE are just going to have a better point A defense than Peps did. That's just what we're going to have to look at from DICE here.
In order to win the game, they're just going to have to win the game. I absolutely agree. But no, we were talking about supports. Well, you were talking about FD God doing a really good job on that brig. I like Zerion having the opportunity or seeing those openings to really get a lot of anti-nades. I'm not sure what Elva's doing, just chilling, hanging it out.
I wonder if Peps are going to be able to find it. Probably not, right?
No, it doesn't seem so. In fact, going to be dropping her right behind that Zarya, going in for a bit of damage.
Wow.
And just chilling out for the next 10 seconds until they get rewind once again, or backing out, allowing the...
Okay, I like that, because usually you would TP your backline now if you're Zarya to try and take this bridge, and that's exactly what Peps did. So, like, if you, like, isolated a support there, that's going to be a really easy kill for Hell, but that's a really cool setup.
I'll be taking notes for that one for my future gameplay, but right now DICE continuing to try to hold this high ground boat, using that roll to get themselves out of danger of that D.Va, of that Winston getting that cleave damage, those pellets. And DICE right now don't really have the tools to hard engage into that small room all that aggressively. It's going to be the Tracers trying to duel it out on Cart. And at this point, if you're DICE, you just hope to win, but that's not looking to be the case. 3 members already down. Nico struggling to hit this wrecking ball at least a couple of times. Eventually gets the flash, the kill. Zerion with a nice coup de grace with the anti-nade.
Look, I know we're seeing this different approach where in fact it's on the wrecking ball on the defense. We've got the winds coming out here from Benbest, and some monsters on the Zenyatta compared to Zerion's Ana. Look what's online for next team fight, the Nanoboost. Benbest is going to get this probably instantly, or maybe even sooner, and they're just going to go straight in on DICE's backline. Unfortunately, for Peps, they're not going to have too much damage follow up on the backline engagement because they've just lost Nico.
Oh, and they lose the brig as well. Elva still trying to make this Widowmaker work, and Gibraltar can be a very strong Widowmaker map, but you just have to be very aware of who might be looking to jump you.
It's really interesting to see where the DICE backline position themselves. It's going to be on the shuttle. I like that because, like, I mean, if for example, Peps were running the Widowmaker themselves, I would have liked the shuttle because you could just see that shuttle from the angle that you're going to take through these doorways on the Widowmaker. But no, Team Peps don't really have anything to kind of challenge those sports around those shuttle. I like that positioning from Aspen and Mozart. already highlighted them enough. So what's going to happen in this next fight? Well, we see winning conditions for Peps. They got a nano booster gauge, they got a graviton surge. This is probably going to be their best chance at capturing point B, right? Just because of how difficult it is to walk in on these team fights and the ultimates that they have right now.
We saw Boat try to just be ready with that flashbang should the side of Team Peps decide to go through their left door entry. Was not quite the case, so it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment there. Eventually going to be wrapping around, and Elva has the doorway locked. That Ana looking very nervous to peek through, but it's going to be Benbest trying their best to focus down that Widowmaker. We'll do so successfully, as now it's going to be half the members remaining for Dice and Transcendence from Moser. We're going to be trying to save whoever it can. Frosted throwing in as much damage, and the Mines going to be looking to clean up, or at least secure point for a moment. Self-destruct goes out, but gets chased down. Nobody caught in it, and it looks like it's all going to have to be last moment contests. The Tracer trying their best. Elva managing to relieve some pressure, but the Tracer does not stick around long enough.
Yeah, that was going to be Team Peps' best chance of getting point B. They executed it well. The Graviton Surge was solid. The engagement from Benbest was solid onto the back line. Those were the two key components needed to get right. They got it right. Team Peps will take it seriously.
Excellent performance from Team Peps. A little disappointing, if I'm being honest. I wanted to see Dice, come out here, seem to have a little bit more of a grasp of the compositions that Team